This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, well, she lost all of her slides. Okay, so 2:00, clerk will note the members present. And the visitors, if they didn't sign in, I think you know most of them. And we've got 2 incoming city councilors that joined us today, which is always refreshing to see these guys start their education process as quick as they can. So we got that done, roll call's done, agenda.
Well, I got a comment.
Okay,
I have to make every motion. I don't receive extra compensation for that,
take it up to you and the mayor need to have a discussion.
but I'm okay with it. So I will make that motion. That's the only, I'm gonna make 2 motions today and that's gonna be it. I'm not gonna make any
You're
more
gonna do that
motions.
one and adjourn.
So,
Got a
I'll be
motion?
happy to get our new members on this finance committee.
Well,
So,
they're coming.
so we got a motion to approve the agenda as
Okay.
presented.
Okay, I'll second. Any objection? Hearing none. Information report.
And let me approve the minutes first.
I was gonna just wait, but that's okay. You want to do that?
That's
Oh, you're
perfect.
gonna make 3 motions.
Yeah, I'll move 3 motions today. Approve the minutes from the meeting of November the 2nd.
I second. Any corrections, changes, deletions, additions, whatever else might be appropriate? Hearing none. Any no votes? Hearing none, passes 2-0.
Information reports. We're going to start with gross receipts. For the month of November, we received $3,821,397 in gross receipts tax. That's down 0.4% from the same time last year, but it puts us at 14.25% above budget at this point. There's the graph. You can see the gray line is pretty consistent with the, what are they, the actuals on there. For cannabis, we received 32,293. That's 78.5% more than the same time last year. And it puts us at 80.49% above budget. I stand for questions.
It just seems like people are having more time, having fun than they are spending money on other items. Kind of amazing. Do you think it's a catch up from the state on the cannabis? Or do we know?
They say it's not, so that would imply that.
That's a big swing.
Huh?
That's a big swing from where we've been.
Well, and I think until we see a couple more months, we're not going to know whether it's,
What the revenue stream really is.
coming in or not.
Well, the other thing is we've hit a lull in gross receipts.
That's concerning.
That's a concern. But that's the reason why you can't just look at 1 month's check and go, oh, we're rich, because it's always followed by a dip in the curve.
Well, and you see that on the GRT, because the first 4 months of the year, above last year, we were doing pretty good, the lowest being 2.8%, and in November, we're down. So,
That's concerning. To me, it's concerning. That it could be a start of a new trend.
I agree.
And so it's a caution flag is all what I would call
I agree. Now, remember, when we get this report in March or April, wherever it falls, we're going to have an increase in it, but it's a false increase because that money is dedicated to the ambulance project.
it. Well, you don't have to be, we'll know that difference.
Right.
So
Well, I'm just cautioning anybody that cares.
that sees that we just have an increase,
Yeah,
because we're restricted in what we can use that fund for.
yes, absolutely. Got to go to ambulance service,
Right.
not hook or crook. Okay, I don't see,
She's online. Juanita's online.
okay,
Good
we're
afternoon.
ready for the
Lodgers tax.
public affairs.
Do you all have any questions regarding the public affairs report?
If not, I'll move on to the lodger's tax information.
Okay.
For the month of September that was collected in October for the bed fee, you'll notice it was 79,130. That has a significant increase because the 3 hotels that were late the previous month actually caught up in this month. And so that is why you'll see that increase. If you look at the convention center, the lodger's tax 5% report, again, it was for the month of September, collected in October. It was 164,942. Our occupancy again shows a significant increase in that percentage, and that's just due to the fact that those 3 hotels, Baymont, Holiday Inn Express, and the Home 2, caught up that month. One of the other informational reports that I had was from the Hispano Chamber of Commerce at the previous Finance Committee meeting. You all had some questions. The first question was the $18K for membership that has been collected. What was the intended purpose and use of that money? I did email Mr. Nava some of the questions, and his response was the monies received from a membership fee, support from the city, and profit from the chamber goes towards the events that help pay for the operation of their chamber. Your second question was how many current members do they have? His answer was 101. What is the cost of the membership? He provided the attachment for the chamber's membership fees that is in your packet. And then question number 4 is you guys would like to see that they would exceed the amount of money that's supplemented by the city. So I gave him the example of their amount that they receive from the city is $37,500. How are you planning to meet this or exceed that? He said that they are having a meeting on Saturday, January 27th. It'll be their planning meeting, and that they will be focusing on a plan to grow their membership, augment their income and profit. For the Cinco de Mayo and Piñata Festival in 2024, they do want to add 2 additional fundraisers. And speaking with him, he did encourage your guys' support in helping grow that membership, and I'll stand for any questions.
Did you hear any questions concerning the visitor center?
That was back in our previous.
I understand, but that was illegal. Okay, never mind. I'm crossing committees, so.
Do that. Don't do that. You always get mad at making motions that don't be, but bringing all this stuff.
I don't remember which committee we were on. We talked about the visitor center.
All right.
The visitor center
Okay.
report is in the finance packet that is attached if you do have any questions.
Yeah, we got it. I'm still concerned that it appears we're front loading instead of rear loading on the money side of this thing. We'll give them till March to bring us a better outlook than what I see here. That's kind of my concern. We're paying 37, they're paying, they collected.
That's back in the day.
They
We saw the
collect-
financial statement, but they had a nice little healthy cash balance and we were the bulk of their revenue. So,
Yeah. We're gonna,
a year ago, we talked to Mr. Nava about getting some more equal balance between he and the city, organization of the city. So hopefully we'll see from him in January after he has his meeting what his plan is.
I'm anxious to hear whatever he's got on his mind. Okay, moving on. You don't need to make a motion on this.
No, I'm not making a motion.
Okay. I don't want to overwork it.
I'm not doing
All
it.
right, we need to review the ordinances. We've got 2 items here under item 4A and B. I put them that way because although they're different, they're similar. So is this your, I have to listen to you?
I don't know, what are we doing?
We're going to start with A and go to B.
Okay,
Water.
yep. So how would you 2 like to do this? In the PowerPoint, we can go through each article. Each article has already been gone through infrastructure committee and has been vetted. What I really need your guys' help on is Article 5.
Okay,
So,
Robert,
hold on, I got a question about something
okay,
here, if I can find it again. Actually,
Article 5 starts on page 48 of the ordinance.
yeah, but mine may be, let me just go, give me a second, I'll find it because I put a big blue mark by it. I guess, reading through here, and I don't know exactly where it is, but one of the things that I thought about is, okay, somebody doesn't pay their water bill. 60 days goes roughly, give or take, and you go cut the water off. And then there's provision in here that you gotta wait so many months to do the next step, and then it's like 18 months before we can foreclose on the property.
The process is we shut them off.
Right?
If they don't pay within so many days, then we pull the meter, close the account.
So you pull the meter.
Yes.
Okay. That was,
and liens will be in 5 months.
Yep.
Okay.
We give them 5 months
Okay.
because we try and work, figure out stuff, give them time to come in and whatever. Because usually as soon as you pull the meter, that gets their attention. Or they go out and straight pipe it. So, yeah, and then it's after 5 months of no activity. Now, if they make payments or something in that 5 months, we're still working with them. But if there's no activity, the account's closed and we send it over to Todd for a lien. And just so you know, we just sent, Monday, we sent 32 liens over for Todd to process. 50-some thousand dollars worth.
Can I ask a quick question? What is it, what does it take to take a meter off? Time and effort and cost?
Probably 15, 20 minutes. Yeah.
And to reset it, I think the charge is
I
44.
think we charge 44 on both sides. 44 to pull it, 44 to reinstall it.
But compared to a monthly charge when, if there's nobody living there or something, their minimum bill's going to be, $60, $80, $100 a month that we're probably not going to get without a lien. So it's a whole lot cheaper to pull the meters.
That's what I was just curious what that process looked like. There's a lot of cutting. Pull the meter off.
No, we just either have to unscrew it or unbolt it and pull it out.
There's no way to turn the water on.
They still can and they still do. You can go down and buy a piece of pipe, put in the middle and ask your friendly guy sitting there next to you.
Yeah, no, I've got more than enough plumbing work in my days with running swimming pools and everything. I get it. I just,
They get pretty creative.
yeah.
Well, but at that point, then they can visit the judge.
Yeah, then
next door.
Chantel sends them over to visit. She sends them to visit the judge and, because we found one the other day that if you looked at the meter, it looked like they had been shut off. We found out as they dug up on the city side of the meter, cut our pipe,
Rerouted.
attached to it, and then routed it around the meter and into the house.
How do you find those? What makes you aware of those?
If there's somebody living there and the meter hasn't turned,
Right?
then we'll start.
But if, say, somebody comes in after you pull the meter, runs a straight pipe in there,
We go out and check them.
you do go back and check?
You usually see the soil dug up around, because undisturbed, we usually go in the meter box and pull it out of the box.
Right?
You see digging kind of around where there's clumps of.
But
dirt.
That's what was
you got a
nice about-
process to go back and check it, you're okay.
That Chantel, 4 years as the detective down in Artesia, she's pretty smart about finding these people doing crazy stuff. So this one that we dealt with over there is a known drug house. And the police department was helping us with it. We took care of 3 meters over on Atkinson last week that the buildings were condemned. There were still squatters living in them. And when the landlord had gone over there to try and disconnect the water, one of the tenants came out and pulled a gun on him.
Oh,
So,
That's me about shot.
yeah, you know, it can turn into the Wild West out there.
okay. All right. So I guess we're gonna skip.
We'll skip all the way through down to where it says Article 5.
You got questions on any of them?
Huh?
I get questions on any of them?
Yep.
My question, I looked it up, is actually in Article 5.
Yeah.
Okay, if we can go backwards just for a second.
Which document? This one?
The one that I handed out, it has the yellow on it. That actually needs to be inserted in the previous section under 26-118.
Page 75.
Thank you. There we go.
It'll just go in there as 26-118. And that just talks about cost recovery for the retreatment program that's run out of wastewater. That's one of those fun ones. If you can understand it, you're a lot better than I am. Somebody else might be able to. But there's a lot of formulas and stuff in there. They actually have a computer program that they enter the information into, and then it spits out the amounts owed, and then the places get billed for it.
Is something new?
No,
We've already,
yes. And it's a required section by the EPA, so.
okay.
We do have to do a new study to update that information that will be forthcoming sometime.
You just like doing study.
No, this isn't, this is when we actually have to hire somebody that knows what they're doing.
Oh,
My fuzzy dice won't figure this one out for us, so. Okay,
okay.
on to Article 5, page 48 of the ordinance. So a lot of this is basic stuff, rendering of bills, estimated use. This one, we need to talk about responsibility for the charges. The property owner will be responsible for all fees charged by the city for any specific address or parcel. With respect to rental or leased property, the account shall be in the name of the property owner. Utility service accounts shall not be in the name of tenants, renters, or leasers. Temporary or special services shall be charged based on the determination of the superintendent.
Well, you want to fill this room up with a realtor?
Well, there's a couple of reasons for this.
Oh, I know.
Our biggest reason is the tenants, the renters are the ones that owe us the most money. And we have really no way to hold their feet to the fire. And we can't really go back on the property owner because there's a nice little section that somebody was involved in when it got put in state law. So
Well, read that section, see if I
Pin that?
What year that happened?
I don't remember that, but
if we leave it in the name of the property owner, then we have the ability to go back and lien the property.
yeah,
Which, after speaking with Janie the other day, means that we can go back into the proposed rate structures and take out that bad debt and lower the monthly rate.
That would assist us as well.
Yeah. Because right now, we're putting that in as part of the rate
Right.
structure to help cover that cost.
so there's some payback,
Yes.
potentially.
Yes.
Whenever we review this, not this June, but next June because of the timing of when this ordinance takes effect.
Right.
True?
Well, if you guys choose to leave it like it's written, I'll go back in and take the bad debt out of Appendix A
Yeah, the rate structure.
and redo the
Yeah,
rates.
You got to do it both ways. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You got to go this way, go down this road, this trail or that trail.
Yes,
I got it.
but there is a significant savings across the board for everybody if we make the property owner responsible.
How much do we have as bad debt right now? Round figures,
1,000,001, 2,
one or two.
yeah.
So that means that we take it for that $1 million. What you're proposing, we'll just go ahead and write it off.
No, we would, that's owed right now. That would get sent to the debt collection agency that we hired.
I get a little recovery.
You know, if we got 20%, it's better than what we have now.
I think you're very over optimistic. I would be tickled to death if we get 10%.
Well, and without the change, my experience of dealing with debt collectors would be they're going to look at the account. If they're renters and they can't find them locally anymore, then they're going to kick that account back to us and say, we're not going to work it because they're going to be paid based on what they collect. And they're not going to work accounts that there's a chance they're not going to get anything on.
Well, they could be, there might be situations where they move from this rent house and then move to another one.
Well, there's a lot of it that it's Sam started the account and ran it for 3 months and then got delinquent. And then Sally went in, changed it into her name and ran it for 3 months. And then the two kids, you know, you get 6 months there. And then Rover went in and got another 3 months out of it.
All print signatures.
Yeah, you know.
But if they were a renter here and they went over here, we would try to collect from them on this first one before we would let them get water in the second one in their name. But they get creative because you'll come in and some of the common names and then they'll use the initial. And, you know, so they can't catch it all. But I think we'll see the debt collection company kick some of those back as, you know, not collectible at all.
Well, and then with our credit check, hopefully we'll sort them out a little quicker.
Yeah. Do we report delinquencies to the credit rating agencies?
We don't.
Now, no.
The collecting agency will.
Well, on the delinquents.
Yeah, once they start processing them, then they'll
put them on their record.
Of course, people don't pay their bills, don't care what. I mean, landlord tenant cases, they're not paying their rent, not paying anything. I got it. Okay.
So what's your pleasure on that? Leave it as it is for now, or?
I'm in favor of your suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've talked about that at infrastructure, did we not?
Yes. We've talked about it a whole bunch and,
Yeah, and leaving it tied to the property.
and there's a lot of times that, you know, I put it out there and crickets. Nobody wants it.
No.
No.
That's one of those really charged. Okay, next section talks about that we add taxes, fees and other charges.
Hold on, back up.
Okay.
Page 49.
Okay.
The paragraph C. What we're doing now is we're just charging a rate depending on if they're red or yellow, correct?
Deposit.
On the deposit?
That's coming further down.
The red and yellow hasn't even started yet. But it started.
We'll talk about that down here at the bottom.
Well, my concern is a deposit will be equal to 3 months of the average monthly bill for this type of customer.
Where are you at?
He's ahead of you.
49.
You're ahead of me.
47.
Oh, then I'll shut up.
We're on 144, section 144.
I'll wait till we get to one.
Okay. Payment of the bill sets the days, says that the fees and everything are specified in Appendix A. And Appendix A is this, the big sheet that I gave you. Disputed bills, the one change in here is that we will require that if you dispute the bill, that you do it in writing. And there is if they think their meter's wrong, there's a meter test fee. If we test it and find that the meter is inaccurate, then they don't pay the fee. But if we test it and it's fine, then they have to pay the fee.
You use a 2% figure in this
Yes,
document.
2%. That's what the national standard is through AWWA.
Answer the question.
146 says that we can do lien for charges. 147 talks about security deposits.
My turn?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My way my mind is looking at this, so you've got somebody that is a homeowner and they elect not to sell their property, but to start renting their property. And they kept a nice yard and all that other stuff. So you get Susie Q and Bobby Joe move in there and they don't ever water the grass. But yet they're going to be saddled with that deposit. Now I know after a year they can get it back.
Who's going to be saddled with that deposit?
The new owner.
I thought it was the same person owning it. And they just put a renter in there.
Right. If you keep it the same, then the owner's still going to be.
Yeah, the owner's the
Okay.
owner.
I thought you
My
were talking
second
about
point is
sale of it.
if I buy your house and you don't keep up your yard, and so my new rate is because you don't keep up your yard, and then I come in and start watering the sucker because I bought the house and I like a nice yard, then they get a discount for the first period of time. Where if the reverse happens, somebody moves in, cuts off the water, then I'm saddled with an average of 3 months.
But it's.
No, it's the average in the class. So you take all the residential class and you average out the 18 or the 14,000, whatever.
Okay.
And then that's
It's unclear, is it?
yeah, it's not the address. It's,
Clear.
it says in here. Talks about it in that class.
Well, what I saw in this section, maybe
Okay.
somewhere else.
But it's not in that section.
No, that's one of those deals that you learn in law school. You just look at a section, you got to look at the entirety of the act.
I learned that doing building codes. Always turn the page. But there is somewhere in here, but I'll find it and we'll make sure that it's up in there too.
Okay.
148 is delinquency procedures, disconnection of service when they become 2 months delinquent. Filing of liens, we file it after 5 months of being delinquent. And we do put the interest rate allowed by law. And then if they don't do anything within 18 months, we foreclose on the lien.
That's where I got my 18 and 5.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I don't think we've done in forever, is foreclosed on a lien. Because usually we just let them go 4 years and then they just go away.
Can you renew liens? And you can renew them
Yeah, depending on the lien we have renewed.
so that they stay out there. You just got to keep track of them so you can renew those things.
Yeah, we have a master.
Because, you know, if you foreclose, you're subject to any prior lien that's on there.
Yes,
So foreclosing is not always,
it's usually not worth the trouble.
no, because you got a first mortgage or a second mortgage and you're falling way behind. So really the foreclosure is not, it's only against the property that has no prior other liens against it. So the foreclosure is really not a.
Yeah, the only time we ever really see money out of liens is if there's a tax foreclosure.
Or sale of the property.
Right.
And that's where we've been catching most of them.
And we record these liens, so they're out there.
Mhm.
So when they do the title search, they should find those liens.
And then Todd's been working very diligently with the title companies in town. And they're calling him now, telling him what they have that they're processing and checking to make sure that there's no money owed. So that's been working out well.
Not recommend the 18 months. I would not want something in ordinance that we don't end up following either.
Shall we change that from?
We shouldn't foreclose. I just keep the dang liens out there.
Get rid of it.
Shall we
If
just
there's
say
no first,
may instead of shall?
yeah. You're not going to foreclose on a property that's got $200,000 liens ahead of you.
But we had one, the one big one that we had over there on Union where the guy owed us $36,000.
Right? Did you foreclose on?
No, but that one would have been worth it.
Well, what was ahead of you though? Were there liens ahead of you?
There was one, but it wasn't that much.
Yeah.
So that's when you have to kind of look and see
You
what's
got to look
going
at them
on.
and see because you're going to have to pay off those other liens.
A $36,000 lien that's a pretty good one.
I agree with change. That should be not.
So we
May.
just change that to may instead of shall. Division 2 is involuntary termination. Failure to timely pay all water, wastewater, and solid waste fees, charges, deposits, penalties, interest, or other amounts due the city shall be cause for termination of service. Customer's failure to comply with provisions of this ordinance is also a cause. Goes through the notification, what we have to do. Let's see. The last one, Jay.
Let me ask you a question, Rob. Maybe it's addressed and I missed it, but when you catch somebody who's bypassing, what's the fine?
That's when they get a criminal charge and
You
go
do a
talk to the
criminal
judge.
charge against them?
590, up to 90 days.
Does that go to municipal court or does that go to?
And that's, the judge has been fairly good with us on stuff.
On those?
Yes. Because what we've been asking him to do is in terms of the conditions of their probation, that they're put on probation for 6 months. They have to bring their account current. They can't do anything. They can't tamper or do anything else. And they have to put in so many hours of community service.
Okay.
If they fail to do that, then he's imposed the $500 fine. And then depending on who it is and what their thing is, there's actually people that have spent time in jail.
Good.
I think the most we've gotten was 9 days, something like that.
Yeah.
Because
Didn't that person get contempt too?
Yeah,
And
they-
there for 30 on top of that.
They pissed him off and he just said, oh, okay, gave him time to reflect.
There you go.
But it was 30 days for contempt and it was 9 or 10 days for the
Yeah.
water violation.
Okay. Thank you.
One in here that I'll bring to your attention is section A. The following shall cause for termination earlier than 15 days without notice for condition determined by the city certified water operators to be hazardous. Right here in the middle.
Which
Oh,
one is
okay,
that?
got it. I'm caught up now.
It's under notifications,
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it right here.
the second A in there.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
But you mentioned Jay a minute ago.
Yeah, J is the next one, that if they're in non-compliance with the water conservation provisions of this ordinance. So if we go by and tell them 2 or 3 times, hey, you've got a sprinkler head out there that it's just pouring water out into the street, and they don't fix it, then Chantel's just gonna shut them off.
I don't know what happens, but every spring, you gotta go turn them on and go walk around.
Yeah.
They
But-
move.
The other thing is we've been having problems up north, or we were earlier in the year, with the homeless guys going up there and they would just twist the thing off and then they take a shower in it and then throw the sprinkler away.
Yeah.
And nobody would know that there was a problem until,
Well, people that run their sprinklers at 3 o'clock in the morning would never know.
yeah.
They would not know.
So that's where she uses a lot of her discretion on, making sure that she talks to people and that kind of stuff.
I'm not sure 48 hours is enough time for some people.
What do you want to make it?
I'd give them up to 5 days to get it done. So if you get somebody who can't do that, an elderly person, and they got to call somebody out, good luck trying to have somebody come out and just fix a couple sprinkler heads for you.
Don't tell anybody, but it's been known to just occur.
Well,
when we're out there doing stuff.
That's nice. I mean, that's,
But we, that, it doesn't happen, but we take care of our customers.
well, I think that's a great gesture to do that. I'm just concerned about elderly people that just don't have that ability to get those things fixed. Maybe they just shut their water off and don't run it. But you got 110-degree weather, I don't know. 48 hours just seems quick.
Well, I think 5 days is a little much, but 72 may work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gives them 3 days.
To get it fixed.
Yeah, and this is business days,
Yes.
not count weekends in
Okay.
this.
Business days.
Yeah, it needs to be spelled out too.
I do believe up in the front, in the definitions, it
Might
talks
be.
about that. I'll make sure, because there was somewhere else that we had to define what a day was.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Anything can be appealed to the utility director or his designee. We can set up payment plans. If they default on the payment plan, then we do the terminations. Holidays and weekends, utility services may not be disconnected less than 24 hours prior to a city recognized holiday or weekend. So we do not do shut-offs on Fridays. We do not do shut-offs. Usually the week of Thanksgiving, we don't do them. And usually that week between Christmas and New Year's, we don't. This year we might, I can't remember what the calendar showed, but it was, because we're playing catch up a little bit. So, but we're staying that 24 hours away from a holiday. We want to give them time to come in and take care of it. This next section is a new one, seriously ill customers. If they come in and they have to provide us, a note or something, and it's specific in here, the customer's responsibility to provide the city on a form designated by the city with evidence from a licensed practitioner of medicine. The practitioner shall possess a current unencumbered license by the New Mexico Medical Board or a current unencumbered advanced practice registered nurse, certified nurse practitioner license by the New Mexico Board of Nursing. It comes in too often where we have somebody come in with a note from a chiropractor that says this person's seriously ill and they can't have their water shut off. So that's why I defined what a practitioner is. But they're not a licensed medical practitioner.
Some people believe that that's their medicine.
I used to go, but I don't go anymore.
I'm just saying, some people will use that as a form of their medical treatment. And if they're down in their back or whatever and have not mobile and don't have to see a medical doctor as you prescribe, but they're seeing a chiropractic doctor, I don't see much difference. I mean,
You're so out of whack that you can't pay your water bill. I hope you're going to see an MD.
Yeah, I'm just bringing that up so that not everybody believes in the medical profession.
Well, see, and a DO falls under this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Because they're licensed by the Board of Medicine.
right.
And that's all it says, is that the practitioner shall possess a current unencumbered license by the New Mexico Medical Board. So whoever the medical board licenses can write this.
Does the medical board license chiropractors?
I think they have a chiropractic board.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so.
No, you got me on one.
Chiropractors can issue medication too.
Yeah, they can.
Some, yeah.
Basically, the way,
They have their own board.
Well, some chiropractors also give DOT medicals to truck drivers. Licensed in the state of New Mexico.
no, that's a special license through DOT. An MD can't even do that without a license from DOT.
But where would, if I was a chiropractor, but I'm given DOT medicals, where does that fit in here? Because I'm not certified by the New Mexico Board of Doctors or.
Yeah, but a DOT physical is something totally different.
I understand. I got it.
It doesn't have anything to do with what this is.
Just posing a question I think we're gonna have to answer.
All I want is to be able to, if somebody comes in with a note, and then they start coming in with a note every month or something signed by the same person, and then I go out and find them mowing their lawn and doing all kinds of other stuff, we need to have a board that we can send that stuff to and say, you guys need to look into this.
Well, the chiropractors, if they're licensed under their own board, you still got somebody you can squawk to.
I think the simpler thing is to say by any practitioner licensed by a competent board and that could write medical opinions for workers' comp. Some chiropractors will fall under, others won't.
Right.
Because what we're, in effect, if you have a workers' comp letter saying this guy can't work and is gonna have money for a while, that's fair enough for me.
So can you fix that one then?
Yeah.
Okay.
You shoot me an email with the section.
Okay.
Would that work?
You okay with that?
Yeah, that'll work.
And then restoration of service. Service shall not be restored unless you've done the payment plus the cost of reconnection and any additional deposits required. The city shall restore service as soon as possible, however, be required to restore service within 24 hours of payment. We kind of put that in just as an emergency catch-all. We try and anything that's paid by 3 o'clock that day, we go out and turn them on.
And the language for that is, that's a state law thing. So once it is turned off, state law says they shall pay the whole balance before being reconnected. Our discretion is, that's why it's important to get a payment plan when you're falling behind, not when you're shut off.
And then it talks about the reconnection fees in Schedule A. Questions on that one? Now's when it starts getting fun. Rates and revenue and expense accounts. Rate setting. Says that we'll do it every fiscal year. This is the big one. The utility director shall each January review all costs and rates and shall report to the finance committee at their April meeting propose rate adjustments to ensure that each class of customer is carrying their share of cost, debt service, and reserve. So we have it in ordinance that says that we have to look at it every year, and a report has to be made to the finance committee.
And this is a time-consuming task. Somebody.
Not if you keep up with it.
Well, true.
Because at that point in time, you should be building your budget anyway.
Okay. He's not squawking.
That's because he won't do it.
Because I'll go get hold of Janie and ask her what our revenues are and everything. And have her make me a report.
Because once you have,
Robert's gonna make the report.
once you have the formulas in your rate tables
Right.
set up, all you have to do is go in and you just fix your rates till it equals zero on the one side.
Let me just ask you this, and Robert says utility directors shall each January review all costs, but it says effective with the beginning of the fiscal year, we shall review. Are you going to use 12 months of cost when you do that? Because you're going to use 12 calendar months because we're on a fiscal year that starts July through January. How are you going to determine what the real costs are? You've only got 6 months worth of data when you're going to start your review.
It also has your previous budget, your proposed budget. If we're not planning that far ahead, you need to replace us.
I get it, but what live data, what true data, what not budgeted data, what's your actual cost, or are you just going to do this off a budget always?
Well, I could give you actual costs, even if we're on a fiscal year, I could run costs.
You can run costs over a 12-month cycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, any date range you want, I can get you.
And then at that point, we should be planning, or we should have planned what we're going to do for that 6
Right,
months.
you'll have a 12-month cycle to compare that with.
Yes.
Okay.
The first time through is going to be a little rough, getting it going, but once you get it going, it'll be fine.
Right.
Schedule of utility rates. City council shall set rates for each utility service, shall be provided through the city system and at such levels as may be required to pay for the operation, administration, and all that stuff. Monthly charges, it has your access fee and your consumption charges. Except as provided by a written agreement entered into under special or qualifying conditions. The appendix A shall be the rates. So if somebody comes in and says, we're going to buy a whole bunch of water and we want a discounted rate, they can come to the council and get their own rate if you guys so choose. Our service categories, single family residence. That's a pretty easy one. These are the new ones. Small commercial. Never had small commercial in the past. Small commercial is anything that uses under 50,000 gallons over a 12-month rate classification period, which is the city fiscal year. Basically, a small commercial is treated the same as a residence. Because usually it's one of the mom and pop places downtown that has a wash sink and a toilet, and that's it. Large commercial is anything that uses over the 50,001 gallons for a 12-month of the rate classification period. They do still get their first 3,000 gallons free, and then the consumption is billed in 1,000-gallon increments up through the block tiers that we had discussed previous, and that are on the rate sheet. And then the lawn irrigation, you get the base fee. It does not include any usage. So you pay that from the first 1,000 gallons you use, you pay for it. And it has a 3-block increasing volume charge. Any questions there? The next one is the out-of-city limits. And it basically says that we charge twice the amount of the city resident.
Twice the amount of the usage.
Whatever like on a 3/4 inch meter, the new rate would be $27. And an out of town person is $55.
Okay. Got it.
So it's doubled the city rate. You had some questions about that before.
Well, just as long as it's on the consumption only, it's not on
No, it's on the base rate too.
the base rate.
Base rate and consumption.
Consumption.
Yes.
The base rate is really the connection rate, correct?
The base rate is the access fee. That's just for being connected to the system.
Right.
Those outside city limits, they don't get charged the solid waste or wastewater charges.
Some of them have wastewater charges.
Yeah.
Yeah, very few.
Yeah, there's not very many out there.
That have wastewater now.
That's the way we've done it forever. Doesn't mean that we have to keep doing it that way.
Right, that's what they're charging currently.
Right.
2 times.
That's great.
Everywhere I've worked previously, it's either 1.5 times or twice.
What do you think our consumption is in the outside rates? How many gallons do you think we're pumping in there?
I don't know. Our biggest customer would be up north, one subdivision on the northeast corner of town. They have a master meter up there, and then we serve.
They're in Nevada area, or runs along Nevada, that area back.
No, on the other side, off of northeast. It's up there off of Barindo and
Right before the river, we have a master meter there.
Okay.
Have a 4-inch line that runs out there, and then there have several services out there in the subdivision. Yeah, I could see Miranda.
I think we've got, 10? I don't know how many we serve up there because we just serve them off a master meter.
Okay.
And then they divide it up themselves.
Well, and we'll be able to give you, once we start this, better data, because right now, all we have are residential and commercial. That's the only way really to break them out in reports. And then you have to go in there, when we were looking at all the accounts that were past due, and we were separating out the businesses. How I separated out the businesses, I went down through there reading names and said, okay, that's a business.
Yeah.
So it's left us room for error. And if we can get this set up at the, what are you calling these, the category levels, and then at the meter levels, we're going to have much better data coming out of the system.
Okay.
And the other thing, the other reason for setting it up the way I have with the Appendix A is if we need to change that, that's all we have to change. We don't have to go in and change the whole ordinance. We can just go in and change that stuff in the appendix. Because we're going to have to do that. I'll tell you right now. Because there is a lot of this that was based on assumptions and estimates and.
You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, because we don't have the raw data.
Right.
And when we start getting that, then we'll be able to start making better determinations on stuff.
And not realizing we still had cubic feet meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm okay with it.
Well, and the beauty of this thing, or one thing that you can point to, is that this is not in concrete. We're going to review it again in a year and see where we really, if we're getting where we want to get, if our costs are controlled, if they're out of control.
Yeah.
This is just a starting spot. Every year you're going to go through some kind of review.
Well, and I think after this is passed and implemented, we need to revisit it in like 6 months.
I would believe so.
Just to see if we've got any hiccups or if there's
I don't
problems.
have a problem with that, but I like longer trends than 6 months.
Well, if anything's glaring, we're going to know.
Yeah.
We'll know pretty quick.
Probably won't make any changes. Hopefully we won't have any sore thumbs. But it wouldn't hurt to review it at that time.
Well, I think we should review it at 6. Then you don't make changes, review whether you're on course or not. I'm just trying to understand the logic of why the out of the city limits is a double.
Okay.
What creates that logic?
The description for that from the AWWA manual is that people inside the city limits pay city tax, city property taxes also, where the people outside don't.
But then they're utilizing a service, that part of those property taxes, and the logic has to say part of those property taxes support those water
Yes.
service.
My issue with this is the people inside the city do pay that. But I also transfer money over into the general fund from my fees to help pay for those services. So aren't those guys out there then being charged double for that?
Right.
I can argue this one either way.
Yeah.
And come
I'm
out.
trying to understand the logic behind it, what says it is a double.
We could certainly talk about it, but it's just kind of the way it's evolved over the years. This is,
Just because we're doing it though, I'm just trying to understand.
no, I understand where you're coming from.
And what it basically, a lot of places use it to get people to annex in. If you want to use city services, then you should be part of the city.
Right.
If you're going to use city services and you're not part of the city, you're going to pay a premium for using those services.
Yeah. I think annexation should have taken place a long time ago to get us to 50,000 people, but it didn't happen.
So we'll just revisit this or.
A lot of those places do not have sanitation, do they not?
No.
So it costs us a fortune if we never put sanitation in.
Yes.
If we annex.
Won't cost a whole lot to put solid waste.
Sanitation is city limits only.
City limits only, that's what I'm saying. There's,
Yeah, but if we were to annex some of these areas in, then we'd have to put sanitation in, would we not?
Yep.
So that would cost,
Some Malaysians lift stations.
yeah. Yeah, I just look at it, let's review in 6 months, Bob. I mean, I'm just trying to, logic of doubling it up and where that comes from.
The other thing, Councilor Brad, is that subdivision that's at southeast of Atkinson and Berendo. About 14, 15, what I would call estate homes over there.
Mhm.
They did try to come into the city limits. They started going through P&D, they brought the infrastructure. When it came down to it, they themselves voted themselves down. They'd rather pay double the fee and remain outside the city.
So are you talking about Riverview or LR Go Arrows?
Not all drivers.
But Riverview, so
Yeah.
back on the backside.
Backside of that.
But there was some of the citizens that say, well, if we come to city limit, we won't have to pay double the rate. So the process was started and they themselves voted themselves out and said, no, we don't want to do it.
It was a 50-50 deal over there in the area, because Greg Maloney and.
Yeah, Maloney was part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But
Then
so.
we have that other subdivision that's way up there on the other side of the railroad tracks. That they ran their own line clear up underneath the railroad tracks and way out there. And we service them.
that Riverview deal, about the same time, the Hubbard's looking to try to do a subdivision right there in that same where they have their cons and
Right.
everything now. And there were gonna be a lot of hoops they had to jump through.
Well, the thing is, they didn't want to pay the cost to bore underneath Atkinson to tie into a manhole. That was the killer on theirs, because we weren't gonna give sewer service unless they were in the city limits.
Right.
And again, they could have water, we could sell them water twice the rate. They were looking at, I think, about 30 houses, if I remember correctly.
But that could have been something that could have attached together with Riverview, because they're right there in that same,
Yeah, they were just south of them.
yeah.
That's the division, but what killed them was the price of boring underneath Atkinson.
Right.
And tying in or building a little lift station and pumping into her. And they said no. But as far as the double the rate, most of the people are already aware of it up front, and
Right.
I don't hear much about it. And like, remember you wanted to do it? The citizens themselves voted it. We'd rather pay double the rate and remain with our chickens or horses, whatever we got.
Yeah, that was kind of part of the other deal with Riverview, was that they were gonna have to follow her.
Which they would have been grandfathered in until the property owners changed.
Horses and different things that
It would have been R1.
Okay,
Moving along.
184, enterprise funds. Enterprise funds have been established by the city council for enterprise accounting and budgetary purposes. The next section is revenue. All revenue from services and facilities provided by an enterprise, including rates, fees, tolls, charges, and any other income from the enterprise shall be collected, used, and expended for activities and purposes for which the enterprise was established, as determined by the city council in accordance with and as set forth in the fiscal budget for the enterprise adopted by the city council pursuant to law. I took that right out of what the legislature wrote. Rates for services and facilities provided by an enterprise shall be established by the governing board and collected and enforced by the city. Restricted fund account. This is one of the big things for actually rewriting this whole thing. Finance officer treasurer shall create the following restricted funds account within the utility enterprise. We have emergency repair fund, infrastructure reinvestment fund, capital outlay fund, debt service fund, and bad debt assistance program fund. Basically, each one of those says that you can only use it for what that's designated for.
Works for me.
So there's no more. There is a way to dip. I'll show you how that works. This is, you still need to do a little bit of wordsmithing on this one, but
We can get to it.
Expenditure of restricted funds for any other purpose not specifically listed. The city council may, by resolution, expend restricted funds for the reasons not specifically listed. Prior to approving the expenditure, the city council shall advertise and hold a public hearing specifying the expenditure amount, repayment option, and specific reasons for why restricted funds should be used. Such expenditures shall require a 2/3 majority approval of all city council members to pass. There was some question about that.
Yeah, there's two issues. One, 3-23-7 makes some categorical restrictions when there's debt. So we should just throw that in so whoever's after us understands that. And then.
What was that,
3-23-7, I think.
Okay.
And let's go offline to make sure all the sites are.
Okay.
And then the second part is what you've done is made a resolution, an ordinance.
Yeah.
So do you want?
And
what my instructions were is to make it as difficult as possible.
yeah, so I would just.
Do we do it by ordinance then, or do we do it by resolution?
I actually would just strike the section because if the council wants to change it, then they're going to have to amend the ordinance. Unless you guys want more liberty.
That's the trouble. We've had too much liberty.
Trouble is also and we've charged the overhead charges. That's where it really came from, a lot of this.
Well,
We have that figured in though.
Yeah.
and
How that has been
remember,
manipulated.
we just use administrative costs now, and Jay came up with a formula that we've used. We can look at that before the next budget and see if it's reasonable.
And I agree, and I like what Robert did with this particular, the enterprise funds, because we can do like franchise, like we
Yeah,
do
see, what
everybody else, and
He said he could charge them a franchise.
yeah, because it's a.
and that's what I did. A transfer to the general fund is 8%. And that's
The franchise fee.
and that's basically what a franchise fee is.
That would make all that stuff go away.
I agree,
And that's figured into the budget. And it's a line item here.
and I've not done any transfers this fiscal year at all.
So if that's the direction the council wants to do, I would just make that part of the ordinance saying 8% shall be transferred annually for administrative costs. And everything else must stay in the system. And if you guys want to change that, full ordinance procedure. 8% what we want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Is 8% sufficient or is it too much?
8% on wastewater was 1 year, the highest is 807,000, which is pretty close to what was budgeted this year.
Yeah, it's in
And
line.
then with water, it was like 1.2, which was,
That's too big.
Works for me.
Yeah, I was, for consistency, that's correct. Based on other franchises we give out, that is more expensive by
Yes,
significant order. So
Well, but
but we provide a lot of things for that 8%.
yeah, we
we provide a lot more than just the right of way.
provide the
Right.
treasurer's office, the manager's office, HR, IT.
You provide a lot.
and that's why when I went out there and found that 8%, I took the high end of the
Is that what,
franchise fee.
the guidelines kind of tell you to use?
It does not talk
They don't give you
about,
a guideline.
no, it's,
I think that's defensible though, because like, so we have 3% for electric, 3% for gas, 5% for television, for cable,
Them for doing
4% for
business.
telecom.
They don't support.
Yeah, so we double
They
it.
don't have a support staff going along with it. I think that's a good place to start, and it's part of that deal. We can look at at a later date.
I concur with you that 8% started there and see what it looks like.
And put another 1% for engineering.
Probably need 2% for legal.
well, okay, so legal and engineering should owe us money. They should pay us.
Hi, wait a minute, y'all go out in the hall.
That's an internal family fight that doesn't need to
So
be here.
we can just take this out and say that it'll be 8%?
Yeah,
Yeah, so what we do is,
transfer.
yeah, so what we do it in the section above. Where it says prohibit, things are prohibited from transfer.
Uh-huh.
But 8% shall be of total revenue of the system.
Okay.
Shall be transferred as an administrative franchise cost. And then we can delete that last section and it accomplishes the same thing
Delete everything else in that paragraph.
in that last,
that way, if we need to change it, we're amending the ordinance.
just a minute.
So
Change
you
it from
take
8
the-
to.
Well, the other thing is we could always put, that it'll be an administrative franchise fee and then put that in Appendix A.
But I think you got, so
I just call it a franchise fee and be done with it.
Well, you could put you put it in here as a franchise fee, but you put the actual percentage in your fee schedule. So then we don't have to go in and change the wording in the ordinance. We can just change it when we change fees.
Yeah,
Which is an ordinance process anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
but it's not going to be 8% of the debt service. It's just going to be the water.
It'll be 8% of the revenue.
So it'll be 8% of the debt service. It'll be 8% of.
8% of-
Structure, 8% of everything.
8%. And that's the way I have it figured is 8%.
Yeah, we're doing it as 8% across the same way we do all other franchise rates.
Okay.
It's more of it's a heuristic, but it's a useful one.
okay.
Again, if we need to change it, we can change it when we change the rates.
And so look at it 6 months in and see what it looks
Yeah.
like.
Hey, we got to change it. You know, there's a point where you just got to say, this is what we're going to do.
It's easier to, if it was too much, it's easier to remove rates down than it is to raise them up if it's not enough.
Oh, I agree.
And that's why when I went through and did the estimates and stuff on the rates, I did high end stuff.
So if we need to lower the rates
You can
down.
always lower it. Or the other thing is we can do what they call a rate vacation. And in December, nobody pays a water bill.
Let's not get crazy.
You know, that's one way you
You're
can.
getting evil looks down there on that end of the table.
Two of them over
No,
You get a credit on your bill. It's what you're going to get.
For the next year, you get a 1.832% credit.
Right.
We've got a system we have to work within, and you're going to make it difficult.
Whenever I can. Okay,
that's it.
that's it.
Yeah.
All right.
What are your thoughts?
I think we addressed them as we went through the document, unless you've got something else.
Just real quick, I handed out a very rough draft of the wastewater utility rate study.
Okay.
There's stuff that's crossed out, there's stuff that might not make sense. the numbers in here are pretty good. I would say we're like 95% on the rate numbers and stuff. I need to go in and polish it up.
So, where did my learned counselor go?
He knew you were going to ask him a question, then ran.
All right, my question is this. We're going to look at this again.
The plan is to have a workshop sometime before the first council meeting in January.
That's this committee.
No, this would be a workshop
I understand. Oh, before the city council.
before the city council meeting. So we can get all the new counselors, and it'll basically be that same thing that we,
You have half of them here right now.
I know. But we have a little dog and pony show that we've kind of put together so we can get everybody up to speed on the same page. This is what we're doing.
Well, and we also have wastewater on this pile too.
Yes.
It's not ready yet.
But it will all be ready. Everything will be ready for that workshop the first 2 weeks in January.
Okay, so we have our workshop. Then does this go to legal? Because it'll have to, it comes later, or is it going to come back to this committee in February? Well, I guess it doesn't matter.
Honestly, I would like to take it to all three committees. I'd like to take mine to infrastructure, legal, and you guys, just to do a final review. The other thing is by that time, I've hit all the council members.
You've got everybody covered at that point in time.
Well, we're going to have new council members on all those committees.
That'll be after the council meeting in January, because it'll be the next round of committees for the council meeting in February.
Okay, so then once we pass it through the committees, then we have to go to city council and advertise. So that takes care of February, maybe even into March, depending on the timing.
Because February, if it went through I would see the council meeting in February would be the first reading and setting the public hearing. For a public hearing in March.
And we can vote on.
And that would give us one more time.
Vote on it there.
Huh?
Vote on at the public hearing.
Yes,
We can
in
vote on
March.
it after the public hearing.
Yeah.
And then how quick can we implement?
I would say,
In April?
Oh.
I would say at least,
Well, there's a period of time.
It says it would set rates on July 1
well, and
is what this.
the other problem is the rate study was based on having it start in January. So I'm going to have to go in there and do a little bit of tweaking, but that's not a big deal.
Well,
I would say at this point in time, we have it start July 1st.
okay.
That gives us time to advertise the hell out of it. And I think, you were talking about a marketing plan.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems is we don't know what we're marketing yet.
Right.
But the first thing that we need to market is that workshop in January.
Yeah.
And tell people, if you want to know what's going on, this is when you come, and this is when the good time to ask questions and throw stuff at Abraham and all that kind of stuff.
Threw you under the bus.
Driving for a while.
So, real quick on your workshop, just know that we have a deal to do in Santa Fe on the 8th and 9th of January.
Well, and that's for you guys to set that time, so.
I'm just kind of telling you the timeframe. We have 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just make sure we don't do it then.
First council meeting will be the 14th, 12th.
I think it is the 14th. No, that was this round.
Yeah, it was this month.
Yeah.
So next month it will be
It's actually the 11th.
January 11th.
11th.
Well, then you're not gonna be able to make your committee meetings because there's not gonna be infrastructure in December.
Right.
So,
Or legal.
No
No,
legal in December.
so you'd have to run committees in January.
that's what it would be.
February.
That still gets it to go in effect in July 1.
Yes.
That's still plenty of time.
Well, and if you all vote on it, if you have the public hearing and you vote on it in March and we start working budgets the 1st of April, we're going to know whether this went through or not and how to
Right.
budget everything.
And then
Well,
Yeah.
that
my
gives
question is,
billing time to set up the rates and all that stuff.
once we change an ordinance, how quick can you put it in? What? I think
5 days after signature.
5 days after. I knew there was a rule there somewhere. Actually, it's state law, but
And this is going to change it to where you got a fiscal year's worth of revenue versus a calendar. In July, you go fiscal year.
Right.
well.
So we could bring this to committees in January,
Mhm.
have your workshop.
Except not to finance because you want to do these other guys first, but it's still in time to get it
You'll
on
still get the
February.
cycle.
It would, for the council meeting in February.
Uh-huh.
So we start having those committee meetings in January. It would go to those three committees.
Well,
And you
but we meet now and city council's the following week.
Yes.
We're at the tail end of the dog, which is designed appropriately.
But by that time, we should have it all polished up, ready to go.
So your first presentation will be finance again in January.
That'll be your first presentation.
No, it would be infrastructure or legal.
And then come to finance in first meeting at first week in March. And then it'll go to city council. We can advertise at that one, and then we can have a public hearing in April. And then vote on it in April and make the effective date.
Oh, you're 1 month.
Huh?
It would go to committees in January. It would go to council at the council meeting in February
Could get that done.
to set the public hearing.
Right. So
We'd have this
March.
public hearing in March. And then we could, whenever you guys want to implement it after that.
And you vote on it in March, because I think if we push it back to April, we're going to have been through a lot of our budget and still not know whether this is going to pass or not.
Well, no, I understand. I mean, that's what I'm trying to work through. My mind, as thick as it is how to get this done. The bottom line is, we're not going to have any increased revenue, and if I remember the budget figures right, the water department's going to be out of money before we get to the end of this fiscal year.
Depends on whether or not my numbers were right.
Well, I mean,
Your number
there's
wrong.
always this,
I'm not an accountant.
Exactly.
there's always error in planning in the future. And just like these rates we're talking about, shoot, they may be sky high and they may hit a little low. I mean, we'll find out a year.
At this point, there's no way that we can implement it in time to solve the problems of this year's budget.
Yeah. let's
Just
see
not-
that.
Because we would have had to have this ready it would have had to be implemented January 1st.
So Danny, planning question, when can we do a mid-year review? Can we get it ready for the February meeting? I give you plenty of time? Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have a big agenda.
January, February.
February.
We'll be able to see the actual versus budget for the first 6 months.
That'll be helpful moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's perfect time to have that.
So handed that out. This is a mock-up of what the proposed statement would look like. We were asked to do that.
Yeah.
So this is actually my July water bill. And this is what
Valued customer.
the valued customer.
At least you didn't put great value, like that's the lower level. In most value.
I need to say, this was Snyder out at wastewater helped me with this a whole bunch. Every time I tried to put something in there, it would move crap around. And so my July bill, this July was $105.92. Under this new plan, my July bill would have been $154.39.
Good.
And that is with the water rate increase, the wastewater increase, and the sanitation.
Well, I'm just looking.
That's everything.
Yes,
I-
that's all the proposed,
All proposed rates.
proposed stuff. Yes,
So you went up 45%.
yep.
Well, I like the way it's broken down here. So you've got the access fee right at the top. And then this is how much water you use, i.e. consumption fee. And so you've got a subtotal of the water, and you've also got a line item here for emergency repair, debt service.
That shows how that $77 is broken up.
Okay, but you still got a line item. So somebody that bothers to read their bill and try to understand it, they can see where their money's being used.
That's what we tried to get done, yeah.
And with the amendment where we're gonna hold the landowner's feet to the fire, then your bad debt is gonna change.
Yeah, see right there, we're dropping it $4.50.
See, that's a constant, though. And,
Won't be if you charge the landowner.
no, but I mean, it's a constant number every month. That's your $4.50 every month. is what
No.
you pay.
The only one that's a constant is that $4 emergency repair. Everything else is a percentage of that $77.
To answer your question, your debt service would be standard for the year.
Debt service should be, that shouldn't change. That shouldn't fluctuate at all.
But we know what the debt service is.
You know what the
Yeah.
debt service is.
Depending
You
on.
know what your infrastructure target is.
That depends on two things. If you retire a bond or a loan,
And that debt
or we
service,
enact another one like we're gonna talk about here in a minute,
right?
$4 million, then that number's gonna fluctuate, but it's gonna be fairly constant.
But the debt service is set, so if you use more water, then that number's going to fluctuate because the debt's not fluctuating.
It's static.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's
So
some,
we got some static items on
we're
here.
gonna have to go, I'll have to go in there and fix those.
Because you got these static items. You're saying, oh, no, I'm gonna base that off my consumption.
Which,
No, that's a level fee for every user. I think what we talked about at some point in time. It's a level fee. for
Yeah.
everybody.
I've got those here.
Yeah,
I
No.
didn't think of that when I did,
because the,
kind of just went really fast.
yeah, the debt service was gonna be a static number for everyone. Infrastructure reinvestment was gonna be a static number for everyone.
Emergency repair is a static.
Debt service is static.
Yep.
Infrastructure reinvestment should be static. Capital outlay. And then bad debt, we're gonna adjust that. I think you're still gonna have some kind of bad debt. Yeah, that's never gonna go away.
Still gonna have some. That's-
Never gonna go away.
Yeah, but it won't be $4.
No, but so you need to come up with something that is probably what you believe is more realistic than the $4 number.
And that's what we have this one. That's what we had. This actually shows what the real numbers are.
Then the transfer to the general fund is gonna be static, subject to review every year.
Yes. Because it'll be 8% of what the previous year's,
Right.
no, what this year's
The
budget.
money we pay the air center is a static number.
Yes.
So there's not many there.
Would the transfers be static?
Yes,
Because he's basing it off of revenue.
no. It was based on,
No, he's based off of revenue, 8% of revenue. So it's not a static number.
the airport, the money we give the airport is a static, if I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just a set note, 600 some thousand, whatever it is. That's a static.
Because what we're doing is we're leasing the water.
Right, so,
We don't care what.
but what I'm saying is he's going to take is the 8% administrative fee is going to be based off your billing. So that's not a static number. It changes every month.
That's probably true.
It changes every month.
You got some more.
We got some, yeah, we got some tweaking to do there.
Okay, and then we also have the same basic outline for wastewater that we're waiting on the numbers to fill in.
Right.
And then,
The rates numbers are good. The up above the $27 and the 5019,
Okay.
those are definite.
Yeah.
It's the weird stuff down below that comes up with that number.
That sums up to $77.
Yes.
And
Well,
the
it's-
numbers on here for wastewater are good.
But let me ask,
Good. Yeah.
trying to see if this, so if I add the 14, the 13, the 30, 16, the 54 cents, 7 and 45.
If you add all those up, you get that 77 19.
Was that confusing though, when I got a 27 and a 50? I'm gonna get charged $27 no matter what.
Yes,
And then I'm gonna get charged $50 based on my consumption.
yes,
Then I'm gonna get charged the rest of these items, which.
no.
That's not a charge.
That's an explanation of what the,
Breakout of what?
Well, then that's really not a part of the consumption fee. Consumption is only.
Not according to the study.
Uh-uh.
It's everything.
So if you're creating all these other funds,
But he came up with those numbers based on all the expenses.
you didn't do that on the emergency repair. That's a set dollar.
that's a set dollar amount. That and
So
the infrastructure
it's not a
reinvestment.
consumption number. So what I'm saying is, you have that as a consumption, that's going to be misleading to everybody, because over here, my consumption is going to be $20, $30, $48. If you go over here to your billing tiers.
No. Your consumption is you used $50.19 worth of water.
Right.
I
And I'm
can
going to pay for all these other additional items.
No, no,
It's an accounting of what that, but these items that you see broke out here is what he used to come up with the rate that's on the second line down. If I understand.
that shows those numbers below is the breakout of where that $77.19.
Being utilized.
But it's wrong. So just don't even look at it.
Well, that'll be.
So I am totally
Yes.
confused at this moment.
I think one comment I might make that would clarify it is the access fee should be broken down in what is getting paid there, and then the consumption fee.
Consumption fee should be consumption. These are static fees. They're not based off consumption.
No, but they are being paid by consumption fees. Because there's no way that we can cover everything with the access fees.
Without raising the access fees to $70.
The access
Yeah.
fee, I get it. It's just to access the system. But I was under the impression we're going to have the access fee, your actual consumption, and then we're going to add all these other fees. The infrastructure reinvent, all of those.
No, all those fees are built into the base fees and the consumption fees. All that stuff below is in that number.
So
I don't think you're understanding.
All the things that he's listed here, he rolled up and plugged them in
To the consumption fee.
to
No, all those things down here below,
combination.
if you add all those, the $4, the 13, the 30, the 16, that all adds up to $77.19. We're showing those people where that money went.
Mhm.
All right, Rita, you're about to die over there.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm just wondering if, and Ed's a pretty smart guy, if he is having trouble understanding this, how is the general public gonna understand it? I know you're gonna have a workshop, Mr. Chairman, but thank God I live in the county because I don't understand any of this.
Well, the problem is the way I have it on here
Uh-huh,
isn't right.
isn't?
It's not right. This stuff,
You're gonna fix it.
this stuff,
You aren't gonna bother him today.
the first,
I lied, I'm bothering him.
the first 3 lines are right.
Okay,
Those are correct.
okay.
It's how I have it broken out down below that I need to go in and adjust.
But all of these things that you have listed here went back up to the top
Yes.
line.
Yep. All those things add up to the $77.19.
And this is an important question. If you want to add all this stuff to access fee and then change the consumption fee, now's the time to do it. If not,
Yeah, because we can run that consumption fee down to next to nothing and just charge it all in the access fee.
But the consumption is the actual water usage.
Yes.
Just what the cost to deliver water. And these others are static add-ons.
But all these still, I see what you're saying, Counselor, but these are all still costs associated with delivering that water to the tap.
Yeah.
Be it reinvestment, $4 million for the infrastructure reinvestment, all these charges still there's still costs associated with them, with the consumption. It takes that much money to continue to maintain the infrastructure to deliver that water to the tap.
Yeah, if you have,
That makes sense.
if you have a, emergency repair at $4, make it 5, make it 6. I don't care, but it has to be taken up here to the access fee or the consumption fee needs another $2 adjustment. Because if you don't have an emergency repair, then none of these people are gonna get any water if you have a big enough line blow.
We can talk more about it because I see where Councilor Hildebrand talking about it, where it should be set because we're investing so much to infrastructure. So that should be a set cost. Right. On that line item.
Right.
And we'll talk about that and we'll work through this.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I can make that happen. The things that should be under the access fee, I can put in the access fee, but that access fee is going to go through the roof because I already tried that.
Your numbers are just really going to swap between
It's all
your
it's going to do,
access
the
fee
bottom
and
number
your.
should be the same. All it's going to do is change it over there. And my feeling is that to access the system, you're going to have to pay for the infrastructure, you're going to have to pay for the note fee, you're going to have to pay for all of those things to be able to get access to the water, and the water is whatever the consumption fee is minus those costs. That's what I believe.
Well, and I think in looking at it, when we all sat down and talked about it numerous times, we were sort of trying to keep like the access fee comparable to what people were used to seeing that they're seeing now.
Yeah, because right now an access fee is $19.73. If they see an access fee that goes to $60,
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
Your total bill's not going to change.
That's not what they're going to see.
Their total bill will not change.
Yes, you will.
No, it won't.
Yeah.
You're just moving those costs up
Yeah.
into the access fee and taking them out of the consumption fee.
Well, your cost,
It'll still be the $77.19.
Right.
okay.
Well, for that same amount of water, that's, if I don't use any water one month, I'm paying $70 now instead of 27.
That's right.
At 27.
And you're paying for the debt service.
Whatever.
And that's easy to do. I can make that happen.
Yeah, you don't need to have that water available to you, whether you use it or not.
We're not, we have to make the bond payment, whether you use water or not.
I understand.
And that's what I'm saying, you put it
And
in
you
that
might
access
want
fee.
to, just for presentation purposes, put all the things that's covered about on the access fee, and then have your consumption fee down at the bottom instead of at the top.
Yeah.
That way it'll help people understand that your consumption fee is clear, like Ed wants it, which is fine. This is how much water you use. The rest of this stuff is keeping the system glued together.
It's transparent to me that way.
Okay,
Clearer picture for me.
okay. All I want to do, make it happen.
Simple, just change all your numbers.
Like I said, I have that and Janie and I talked and
I know.
Yeah.
Well, he may change his mind when he sees that fee go up to $50-$60.
my concern is, and this goes back to why I wanted to change the name of the office to utility billing, is there is too many people that look at this and say, this is my water bill.
It's not.
And I get my butt chewed because they have to pay, their water is $154. Because everything says that this is the water billing and this is your water bill.
Well, but the way you've got it broke out here, where you've got water, wastewater.
We do that now.
Do it now.
Yeah.
Janie did that on purpose.
So
That's good brands.
Payback.
I think you've got your marching order, so.
I think if you want to change it to utility billing, what's the big deal?
Utility services, billing.
and that's what I proposed to change it to is just utility billing.
Well, he says statement of services on the top of this.
Somebody didn't want to change it to utility billing. He wanted it water utility billing, which now it says that it's just the water utility.
No, you can't do that because that's just this front part of the bill. I know.
Oh, he was the one that didn't want.
That was the story I got from.
Yeah.
Threw you under the bus again.
Oh, man.
So,
That's two.
no. Mr. Chairman, can I have the floor for a second?
Yeah.
Not only you are the chaos coordinator, you are the chaos creator.
Yes, sir, that's me.
Because I
According to
really,
what I just heard.
I really think these need to
Consider
go out
the
as,
source.
these need to go out as a utility bill,
I'm fine with that.
and it needs to be from the utility billing department.
I don't have a problem with that, in spite of what other rumors. Yeah.
Think they're unfounded.
I like that.
I'm trying to think when we have that covered.
I was gonna say, who do you believe?
I believe in you all. I'm just telling you that.
This happened to me last night. I'm gonna tell you guys this. There was a lady that we shut her water off yesterday. I stopped at the store on my way home to get a gallon of milk. She came up to me and chewed my ass. I ruined her Christmas because now they have to take all their Christmas money to pay their water bill. I'm a jackass. She called me every name in the book and then spit in my face and walked off.
That's bad. Can I make a suggestion?
Don't go to the grocery store.
No, just
You're shopping at.
go to Walmart and they'll bring it out to your car.
But that's,
Service up.
the thing is
That's terrible.
that's what our guys go through.
Yeah.
And our guys that go out and do those shut-offs, they have people that do that to them.
Oh, I've got some phone calls.
The funny thing is we had one the other day. Lorenzo got to listen to the whole thing. She started in on our administrative assistant, started swearing everything. Mary Ellen passed her to me. And I went, if you paid your bill, you wouldn't even be in this situation.
Right.
Pay your bill, pay your bill, pay your bill. I want to talk to your boss. Went to Lorenzo. We were the worst employees in the world because we were rude, we were everything. And Lorenzo heard the whole thing.
So far, she's not lying.
Yeah.
From now on, your cell phone is on speed dial.
She's made her points.
Yeah.
You know,
That's terrible.
we have people out there that they cannot comprehend that this is something they have to pay for.
Well, we've ruined a lot of folks. Number one, when we wiped the bills clean, we ruined a lot of people. Well, they'll do it again or whatever their mindset is to do that. And COVID has ruined a lot of people because of handouts that took place, checks that got delivered in the mail and things. Oh, I don't have to pay this stuff. And so it's a psychology that's out there and a lot of people that we're just going to fight it.
What drives me nuts is Granny Smith on the corner that lives on Social Security.
Yep.
Pays her water bill,
Yep.
pays her power bill and everything every month.
Yep.
We go shut off somebody's water that has a brand new Cadillac and all this fancy stuff sitting in their yard, and we're the jerks.
Right. Yeah. I get it. I think the car dealer's a jerk for selling a new Cadillac.
Yeah.
You know, probably a used one.
No,
No, but that's the psychology that's out there and that's what you're dealing with.
But that's one of the things that we need to work once we decide what we're going to advertise, what we're going to market.
Yeah.
We need to market that.
I don't.
And and Juanita and I have talked about this, how we need to do this, and we need to do it.
Well, we'll play with these numbers. I like this idea, needs to be refined.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do like this idea of breaking all that stuff out. And if it goes underneath the access fee instead of the total amount and then your consumption fee down at the bottom, I don't care.
So
Now you're going to charge the out of city users to double the access fee?
Yeah, because we got to have all of this stuff.
Right, but you're going to charge them double the access fee.
Yes.
And this is a static number, it's just a question.
No,
Still an access fee.
So these numbers, they will all change.
Right.
The bottom line will not change.
It'll all be
Yes.
Yes.
So it's,
you can have my sheet back. You said they're all gonna change.
They are.
So just so everybody knows, when we go through
Yeah.
this, I'm not
It's a-
changing the bottom line isn't changing.
No,
It's just the way it's
you've
gonna
got
be.
another sheet in there that had all the costs or whatever. I can't remember where that was. I saw that.
This one.
That one won't.
This is the one this
Yeah.
is the one we're running off of.
Yes, yeah,
This is what makes everything happen.
right,
That's gonna be the utility bill, the water bill.
correct.
This is their water bill.
We're gonna talk about another part of the utility bill.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay,
I hope that was enough.
well, I think.
It was very good, I thought.
I thought we covered a lot of ground, made some minor corrections.
I know where to go with it now. So that's what I needed.
No, very good.
I think we did good.
And our water system, our billing system will allow all this to take place.
Yeah.
And so the utility billing could be 2 pages long. It's going to be small print because when we get into the sanitation solid waste, we're going to have all these breakouts as well.
Just not as, well, you've already got the breakouts in sanitation or in
But sanitation salt, that's going to change.
in wastewater.
Yeah. Wastewater, you got all the lines in there.
Same stuff. It's just, there's not as many of them.
Right.
So it's not.
It'll
gonna be
work.
hard.
It'll work. Okay.
That'll take quite a bit of work too.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it when we had that first workshop.
Yeah, but
About presenting
we've
that bill.
actually seen something and we didn't like the presentation and we're gonna change it.
Hopefully there'll be more people show up to the workshop than it did last time.
Well, and that'll take quite a bit of change because what the company gets right now is a text file with all of the information in there and it knows where to drop it. So it'll be a major change. Knowing where to pick the numbers up from.
Right.
Once all of the categories are built in the system.
And you're going to get a bunch of phone calls first month.
Well, and the other thing, we talked about this at infrastructure, that the first 2 months that we roll this out, we either need to have a PD officer or a security guy over in that billing office,
I think you better do it for 90 days.
whatever. Because if
People get violent over this.
we can't, I'm hoping that maybe we can use the PD and they have somebody on modified duty that can go over there. If not, we can either piggyback off the convention center or the airport security contract.
I think we can make that happen.
But it needs to happen because those people over there go nuts.
I know.
And it didn't matter how much we tried to educate and market.
Nope.
There's a percentage of people that don't even pay attention to it.
And they don't care.
No.
They don't care that if we don't do this, things are going to get worse.
Yeah.
You know, just go on Facebook and look at the comments. There are some people on.
They'll go on Facebook and say that we got the visitor center for sale.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's a good idea, now that I think.
That's already been a discussion many years ago.
But that's that's going to be our job starting after the committees.
Yeah.
Once we get this polished up and we know this is the way we're going to go.
Yeah.
It's going to be our job to get the information out.
Yeah.
And that's when I go out and start on the lecture circuit again and go out and talk to people. We do that radio program that Counselor Arnold does. Go in and sit down with them and talk about the rates.
You need to be on Mike's show
a couple of times,
2 or 3 times at least.
And I'd already talked to him and he's willing to help us with that.
Yeah.
So.
Good.
Well, and I think part of the issues that, especially since our notice just went out about the credit checks and the debt service or the debt collection, is that water's a basic human right.
Oh,
And they're just tag teaming on each other off of that. And, you know, so that mentality needs to be addressed. So
that conversation got out of control.
That's one thing that I would like to see, though, is when we put a Facebook post that is saying that, you know, this is something we're changing, this is a new policy, shut the comments off.
Yeah.
Because you get too many people that start commenting and putting their spin on it, and then that becomes the truth.
Right.
Just shut the comments off. You know, this is a notice. Now, we're going to post something else and we want your opinion. Then go in there and put it all you want. But shut off those comments when we're just making an announcement.
We can work with the PIO office and do a frequently asked questions, a bunch Q&A that we can put up ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then maybe curtail them to a meeting where we can have a workshop and me and Robert can sit there and answer questions.
But I don't disagree with you there. This is just the informational purposes only. We're not asking for public comment right now. And it gets it takes another direction, shall I say, or it becomes its whole different animal than what it started out to be. Like we had the discussion about the visitor center. There was no discussion about selling the visitor center, but that's what it turned into was the city of Roswell is selling the visitor center.
And now that's the truth.
To some, yeah, you say a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. It becomes your truth. And then the real truth doesn't matter at that point in time.
Because, with the workshops and stuff, we need to have workshops for the public.
Yep.
And I think we need to have a couple of those. And I don't, if it's just Abraham and I sitting down at the convention center on a Saturday for a couple of hours, come in and talk to us. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you don't like.
Yeah.
What do you want to see? Or at least come in and find out what we're doing and why.
Yeah. How many times do we have a public hearing and no one shows? We advertise it.
The workshop that we had for this.
No one showed.
We had one person.
One person showed was all. And that was it.
Well, we had one show up at this committee meeting and had a concern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he wasn't just yelling and screaming. He just outlined his concern. He said, I don't mind paying my part. I just want to make sure everybody's paying their part.
And it actually made sense. I had no clue to even think about that. And it changed a section in the ordinance.
Yeah.
This is the public stuff.
Yep.
And when they don't participate in it, but don't like what comes out of it, it's their fault.
We got joining us.
It's our fault, your fault. Have a public comment?
No, I'm just kind of curious. We got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 people that joined us today over the internet. Thank you for participating or at least listening, because that's the only way you're going to find out the truth is if you join us at these meetings, either electronically or in person. Don't believe what you see on Facebook, especially in Roswell, because it is a rabid place to go.
But, Mr. Chairman, when are we having these meetings? Most people are working, and then you have it at night, and the people say, I worked all day, I need to go home, I'm tired. Or if you have it on Saturday, I'm sorry, my kid is playing football. I know we're not going to satisfy everybody, but we have to try and satisfy the majority.
And that should be staff's job to go out and do it. We'll do 5 or 6 different ones.
Okay.
Morning, evening, weekend, I don't care what day we do it. I will be there to do it. Because that's how important this is.
I agree with you, but there's some people who don't get on Facebook, believe it or not. There are some people, I know, there's some. Well, I try and educate people.
Yeah, I know. I
appreciate that.
Blurbs out of Facebook sent to me anyway.
But there are some people that just don't know. They don't get the newspaper. They don't listen to Mike in the morning.
Right.
So I don't know how you're going to get to the people unless you go to the civic organizations and all these other.
And that's what we do. This is one of those things that it's going to be the superintendents and that, and we're going to have to go out and we're going to have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because the more we do it, the better off we are. Because then when somebody comes in and says, hey, I didn't know this was happening, we can go back and say, well, we had this many meetings, we did this many speeches, we talked about it on the radio this many times, it was in the newspaper this many times, and oh, by the way, did you open your water bill? Because there was a mailer in that too.
Yeah.
Well, that's what everybody says. Well, I didn't know about that. I had that discussion with somebody on the phone. I said, it's city ordinance. Well, nobody told me. It was advertised that it was going on. that it was on the agenda and we had a public meeting and nobody showed up.
Our government process is representative.
Right.
If you don't like what your representatives are doing, then you have to take the opportunity to go say, I don't like it.
Right.
You can't just wait until it's done and then complain about it.
No, it's too late. Horse out of the barn. Okay, moving on. Let's go to 4B. Are you done?
I'm done
Did that.
for now.
For now, he's done.
Yeah.
Solid waste.
Solid
Oh, is
waste.
that salt?
Yeah,
Oh,
solid waste.
That's this stuff here.
that's his.
Tell me, you want to pull up that executive summary?
And then we're gonna talk about VFDs.
There you go. So I'll kind of walk through right here if you want.
Okay.
So if you copy
Ready, Councilor? Ready, Karen? Solid Waste was tasked with utilizing Robert's model that we've already come accustomed to, so we can implement something similar to what Robert's doing to adjust our rates. To kind of look at our revenue, look at our expenditures and make sure that we're actually in tune or in line with what are we doing. We did give it our best shot. I'll pass the table of contents and I'll kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it. I'll try to hit some highlights if you want to jump in or if you want to wait to the end, however you want to do it. This is a draft. This is our first shot at it. I think we did pretty well. We had a lot of support from Robert, Janie, Debbie, even Becky helped us do a little bit of analysis. Some of the things we're looking at, because we're not consumption based. We work off of a couple of different systems. We do service about 18,329 trash containers in the entire city. Those are comprised of the 96-gallon containers, the 300-gallon containers, and the 3-yard pickups. I do want to say, though, the way we drafted this analysis, it does not take into account the loss that we incur at the landfill. So the landfill historically always had a loss, and then they're separate funds, right?
Yes.
So they were separated 8 years ago.
No, I don't think it was that far back.
Sooner.
Yeah, your enterprise fund is a two-legged stool, just like your all's is.
Ours is split, but it's reported as
waste.
What?
It's split.
It's
But it's
split into
reported
two
as-
funds. We've got solid waste and we've got
Landfill
landfill.
is a separate
But
item.
for DFA purposes, it is sanitation.
Right.
The same with water and wastewater.
But for budget purposes, we also separate it too, right?
He operates out of two pockets.
Right.
And we got into discussion, if you'll recall, where he's using his fuel out of one account and then he
Right.
started using it out of the other account.
Yeah, we have fuel line items on both accounts that we piggyback both.
Yeah.
6 months on one, 6 months on the other one.
So what was the rationale for doing that?
It was-
Well, they got one fuel station, so at the low, which, you fill up your dozer with diesel and then your truck comes in and fills out the same tank with diesel. It's all recorded on the same device.
Right.
It was just easier to pay. You call a vendor, he comes, fills up the tank. And so you got to get two POs or split the PO or so. We're kind of built about this one.
Or you got to charge, sanitation pays for it all, and they got to charge landfill for usage, and it just becomes an accounting nightmare for nothing at the end of the day.
I think Councilor Corn was asking why was landfill and
Why
solid
was
waste
it separated?
separated?
Why did we get
Yeah, that's
two
why he's
legs?
asking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you.
Oh, he's talking about the diesel fuel too. He was talking about the diesel
What you
fuel.
said, I learned what you commented, but that wasn't directly to my question, but
Yeah, I believe if I remember correctly, it's 3 or 4 years ago, and I think they split those up so that they could get a more accurate cost analysis of what each of those services cost.
okay.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 years ago, they re-identified, reassigned a bunch of accounts, not only the utilities, but also how they did capital improvements and engineering, road fund. Again, it was each administration, in my tenure, they all have different ways of doing business, and that's what happened.
But it makes it difficult to have historical data out there when let's have its own fund this year and next year we're going to put it back in and It's not a good way to do things.
So if you follow that same trend or the same thought process, collections would have to pay landfill for all the tonnage fees every time they cross the scale.
Right.
So my understanding when I first got here, I didn't understand why it was split either. It should just be one giant fund. But that's just my opinion. I'll leave that up to Janie.
I mean, as far as the debts are concerned, it's all one giant fund.
I'm still trying to learn our system. God, I'm not anxious to see any changes because you lose data every time you change a data point. You lose all that prior and then it gets mixed up over here in the new deal and you don't know where you're at.
So historically, from our perspective, collections always holds up the landfill. The landfill they will not operate at the optimal point without the support from collections. So collections is our bread and butter. That's the massive revenue that supports everything out there.
Okay.
So just something we could talk about later on.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So city manager authorizes staff to review financial statements. I'm on page 5. Review the financial status and recommend the rate adjustments as necessary to ensure the continued financial stability. This study includes development of the solid waste financial plan, the 5-year study period, which includes second half of FY24 through FY28. We're mirroring exactly what water is doing, but with the thought process of implementing it on January 1. That's the analysis is built this way. Analysis of solid waste customer class, cost of service through from FY24 through FY28. Design and sanitation rate to be included in the second half of FY24. Obviously, that's going to some of the terminology, just so you know, fiscal year, existing rates, cost of service, the amount of annual operating expense per personnel expense, debt service, capital cost to provide, that's a typo right there, our service to each customer class. 90s, we call those are the 96 gallon containers. 300s are the big large ones that are sitting in the alley. Those are usually shared by 4 properties. Majority of our commercial clients are 3-yard metal. We do also have 90s out there, very rare. And then we also have, some of them have 300s. Some of our commercial businesses, and you'll see as we progress to page 7, is that the frequency of service is where we collect more money. We have businesses where we collect them twice on Saturdays, Monday through Friday, and twice on Saturdays in the morning and afternoon. They generate that much waste. On page 7, the third bullet point, operating costs will increase at the following. We use an annual inflation rate that was utilized in Next Gen, the previous study, at 5%. So I want to put that out there. The FY25 operating budget would increase 21.68% for the flat or reduced budget for the last 4 years. The last 4 years, we've been operating at a flat budget or below flat budget. If you notice, I don't know if you noticed, the very end of this packet, we have our net position. You can see how it's trending downwards pretty aggressively. Personnel cost projections are at 5%. That's obviously the cost of having the employees, their salaries, their 2% in negotiated salaries. Our debt service, we only have one loan out there, about 568,000. We pay that out every year. Page 8, I want to point this out. The solid waste department will strive to create, fund, and maintain a minimum emergency reserves based on the cost of the most expensive capital item. Currently, this includes the emergency cleanup of cell 1. This is an unlined cell at the landfill that's estimated at $25 million. So in case we do have an issue with the cell behind us that we monitor every year, we pay for this. In case something comes up, something starts degrading and affecting our water table, we need to excavate that, build a new cell, and transfer all that over. And not only and $25 million is a conservative cost for the environmental impact that it may have. I just want to point that out.
What we came up with that emergency reserve, that number for, is if in 30 years we get built up to that number,
It drops off.
then we don't have to charge that anymore.
Right.
Or we can choose to take some of that out and put it into another part of the account. I wanted to have a top dollar that shows that we basically cap that fund at.
Right.
And each one, water is 12 million, wastewater was 21 million, I think is what we decided on. and then this one. So that's where that number comes from.
Working ourselves backwards, we build up to that account. Whenever we build up that account, we'll know where we're at, but it's kind of like a worst case scenario type restricted account as well. Page 9, our capital reinvestment program. Again, with the kind of following the trend that Robert has put forward with the direction of the city manager, staff has developed 2 capital reinvestment programs. The reinvestment into the department and also the capital reinvestment and capital outlay as well. That way we're self-funding. We have the money within the fund that we'll be able to purchase our equipment. As you know, some of our heavy equipment is pretty expensive. Our side loaders are $500,000 now. Our stuff is pretty expensive when we get moving. So some of the reinvestment too into the property is getting the roads up and getting a better facility, a more modern facility, easier. It's easier for us to build up those funds so we can reinvest in ourselves. So we can continue our service. We have a health safety regulatory fund, kind of like Robert will put together. And we also have a best practice in table 1.1. You'll be able to see both of those alternatives. We're kind of getting to the HSR. You'll see this is the revenue, how it would increase into those funds. Going next to page 10, our financial plan. Staff will develop a solid waste 5-year financial plan for each capital improvement alternative. For each alternative, revenue from existing rates is inadequate to meet the projected revenue requirements, to provide adequate reserves, and to produce required debt service coverage during the study period. Table 1.2 kind of shows the revenue adjustment projected during the study period to meet our criteria. Basically, what we're saying is if this is approved, we go with our recommended rates. This is the revenue, how it would go up 42.8%, 39.64, then it would drop off to 3.69%. Page 11, again, exactly what Robert has and what council and committee has come before. These are the expenses that we're looking at. This is the revenues we're looking at. We're proposing to create 4 different accounts, a debt service, a capital outlay, capital investment, and we have that bad debt. We would make those adjustments like Robert was saying to that bad debt if we have to. It drops off. You were discussing, we can make those adjustments. Also, I did take a note on your administrative fees. If we go to an 8% franchise type fee, we can make that adjustment and draft put together for you as well. And again, like Robert was stating, we'll restrict those accounts by ordinance. Whatever path they said, we'll follow right behind them. So that way we're all on the same page. Going to page 12. Table 1.3, this is the breakdown like Robert had with those individual funds. We kind of did projections forward. The debt service, $2.59. The capital reinvestment, $4.55. Capital outlay, $6.15, and our bad debt would be 98 cents. So if we were to change that bad debt, our fee would drop off by 98% for 98 cents. The rate design, I do want to touch on this. The staff designed a proposed collection rate structure beginning the second half of fiscal year 24 through 28 to increase annual waste revenues. The proposed 24 rates also take the 3-yard metal containers to 1 price instead of 2, decreasing billing confusion. The proposed FY 24-28 rates are shown in a subsequent section of this report. To distribute the operating personnel between 3 rates, we looked at the amount of service given to each class of containers. So depending on your business and your container type, your rate will be based on that. 300-gallon containers considered our base. 300-gallon containers are prevalent throughout the city. We use that as our base and we worked up from there. Page 13, the commercial 96-gallon. The shared 300-gallon containers are calculated the same as residential. This is throughout the entire city. This is the bulk of the program. Mrs. Rare put together something with the weighted averages, which is a really great idea, a really good direction, kind of veered off away from Robert, but we looked at the service percentage, that last column. 40% of our service that we provide is for residential. So we split those up accordingly throughout the entire city. As you can see, the residential is 40%. The 300-gallon is mainly our residential as well, and commercial 33%, and the 3-yard metal is 20%, 27%. That's the majority of our commercial businesses as well. I do want to note that the way we structured this model, the Robert's model, we put the significant amount, not a significant amount, we put the burden on the commercial side, then we were under recovery by 26%. We increased them to release the burden on the residential side. So page 14, sanitation rates. We're split into 4 categories, as I stated, based on the amount of service that is needed per container. Residential, commercial 96, commercial 300, shared containers are being broken out differently. All share the same rates. All rates shown are those based on the service. Residential, shared 300 containers all get service twice a week. 300 gallon, 3R containers is service is containers times per week. So what happens there is it's kind of confusing. Depending on how many times we service you, we come to you, is how we charge you. I come to your business 5 times a week, you'll have a specific rate for that. Or if I come to your commercial business once a week, I'm going to charge you accordingly. Existing rates have been in effect since July 1st. The charge is either for one 96 gallon container or one 300 gallon container shared. Some of the points here I want to point your attention to is the last one. On your water accounts per state ordinance are charged this rate. So sometimes we'll get people that come in and be like, hey, I don't want to pay garbage. If you're within city limits, you're gonna pay. You have to pay the rate whether you use it or not. So we get a lot of that, and I did reference. We'll make an adjustment to reference the New Mexico state, the New Mexico notation as well. This is the meat and potatoes. So table 1.2, page 15. This is what we're proposing. The container, which is residential, our current rate is $21.27. The rate increase based on Robert's model, and we can also make adjustments that we're saying, our new rate would be $20.95. That's a 21.94% increase. I do want to point out, this is in line with NextGen's analysis that costs us about $100,000. We're within 70 cents.
Above last year. Yeah.
So the model is right on point. The commercial 96 gallon, those rates will go down the same. This is where the bulk of it, what I was mentioning. Table 1.6, the comparison of existing proposed second half of 2024, commercial 300 gallon container. The current rate is 32.61. The increase would be 20.47. New rate would start at 53.08. That's a 62% increase. I do want to note that. The reason you don't see ours trending as aggressively as water, we wanted to kind of span it out. Because if we become too aggressive, you come into a phenomenon called rate drop. We don't want to shock the residents. We want to put the burden on the commercial side, but we want to gradually meet our expectations built on the model we've designed here in the model. Table 1.7 kind of gives you an idea of the 300 gallon containers. 1 week, 53, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you can see that number of containers that they have. We actually do have commercial businesses that have significant amount of 300s based on their usage, what they generate, and we make those adjustments with them. We talk to the resident, say, hey, look, you're generating too much garbage. I'm not going to give you a 96 gallon container. You actually need a roll off. You need something larger as well.
Abraham?
Yes, sir.
Stop for just a moment.
Page 17.
Okay, so let me dispel any rumors that are out there from residential people. The sanitation service is going to continue for residential twice a week without any extra charges.
Yes, there's no discussion right now for.
Well, so people get this crossed over when you start talking about how many times you're going to do commercial. But I've had people who've asked me that question. I said, I don't think that's what's going on. So I just want to make sure that I have that ability to say, no, that's not happening. Residential, but commercial is a different animal.
Yes, totally different type of frequency of service. Residential, there is no discussion at all on the table anywhere to go to 1 day of service. That would require analysis on our part. The Rubicon in place, we'll be able to provide some good data for that. If the governing body, the executive manager wants to go that route, we can definitely put that together as well. Going back to table 1.7, kind of gives you a breakdown of all of the rates that would be commercial, which they would be looking at as well. Table 1.8 on page 17. Containers, commercial 3 yard with no Saturday pickup. Their new rate would go, if they're they would start at the 8707, which would be once. This is where they would start their new rate. That's a 25% increase. 3-yard metal container with the Saturday pickup would be 1911, 19% increase. And then at the end, of course, you'll see the rate model that we utilized. We did utilize Robert's rate model. We vetted it through Robert, Jamie, Debbie was instrumental as well. We try to keep consistent with what Robert put together. This is a water consumption model. We're able to make it fit into solid waste. And with that, you'll see the rest of the spreadsheets kind of give you an idea if this is implemented, kind of give you an idea of the cost all the way through. And like I was mentioning earlier, the very last page, which is page 31, kind of gives you our net position. We're looking at our cash on hand, our net position, how it's been the last 4 years. I just wanted to showcase that to you so you can kind of see what's happening there. And with that, I'll try to answer as many questions as I can because I'm not a financial analyst. But
Watch it.
Watch it.
Everything else.
had to sneak it in there.
That was
Jane, myself, Robert, Janie, we all put this together. We're trying to answer any questions you might have. This is our first rate study model that we put together. Committee Chair, Councilor Stanford.
One thing I've got to say is the way they took the water stuff and made it work for solid waste was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is they figured that out, but that is a cool way of making that work.
You put a square peg in a round hole, Councilor.
You just beat it until it works. So.
Okay. You know, the question I have, I know you're shifting a little more cost over to the commercial side.
Yes.
Because the commercial side is probably putting more time in your landfill. And what are we doing to prepare ourselves for the next cell? Is that a part of what you're trying to accomplish in here as to infrastructure or?
Mm-hmm. So
that's what your infrastructure cost is.
We would lay that out into some of our capital outlay where we would buy some of the liner. The liner cost now is going to change in 5-6 years. So that one we can stockpile, we can buy it, we can store it in depth as like a 30-year shelf life. Majority of our cost is in the liner and the earthworks. So we're moving the dirt now ourselves. We're shaping it now ourselves. And we're gonna be stockpiling the liner. So when it does come to that point, we're not paying liner prices in 2028, we're paying liner prices now. So we're slowly build up. South side of cell 5 is 5B, which is 15, almost 17 acres. So we need to start buying that now. So part of this, that's how I would put together a financial plan. I'm gonna use this percentage of our purchasing these items and get it ready. Part of the dozer, what the dozer is actually doing right now, it's been doing since we got it. It's ripping and moving the dirt already. So when we're at a point where we have the revenue, engage a civil engineering company, hey, give me the plans, the A&E for my next cell, and we can start pumping that information data directly into the dozer and the scraper and moving that dirt over. These are shaped.
We don't want to bond again to open a new cell.
No, we do not. Especially if we have the equipment, we have the manpower, we have the employees there that are being trained. We have plenty of heavy equipment to help us accomplish that.
And that's what these rate studies are built to do, is you build up your cash, you build up your inventory, and then you do it. You're not going, oh, hell, I need to finance this. How am I going to do it? You have the cash in hand before you do the projects.
That's exactly how the landfill would work. We're planning now for 3-4 years down the road. We're getting ready now. We should have done before. Cell 4 was filled immediately. Actually, cell 3 was filled up too fast, and so was cell 4. We didn't anticipate it. We had to quickly, and that's probably why we got the bond.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Explain to me the difference between capital reinvestment and capital outlay.
So some of the reinvestment the capital outlay would be within our equipment, right?
So the difference is, sorry, Chair,
No, that's fine.
is that capital outlay is what we plan on spending every year. So we need, it's like a 1.2 and it moves every year for equipment. So that's 2 trucks every year, or maybe it's a piece of heavy equipment that year. That way it's already built in, so we can kind of get a better vehicle replacement instead of having to go, we need this now, we have the money, we're not having to pull from cash on hand. Well, capital reinvestment is to buy those bigger ticket items like the cell or the leachate bonds or the roads.
Leachate bond, the facility is already getting older. We're working on modernizing the fuel delivery system. The roads, we got to build all new roads. There's areas we have to put concrete, asphalt. So we'll have the money to reinvest in and plan that out accordingly throughout the year, so.
And then water and wastewater is the same thing. The capital reinvestment is pipes in the ground, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Capital outlay is equipment, trucks, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Normally, that's all put together.
No,
This time we broke it out so we can.
I think it's a good thing to break it out. We can monitor it and.
That way Jenny has another
Again.
line to watch.
Yeah, one more line to watch. Yeah, okay.
Well,
No problem with that.
Some people, I find it helpful to have it all broke out so I can keep track of each line item.
Agreed.
Then I use one big sum that gets out of whack over here. You go, how did that happen? Everybody goes, well, I don't know.
Well, see, and with capital reinvestment, there's some of the stuff, if we do the projects in that right, maybe we don't do anything one year. And then the next year we have $8 million, and then whatever Lewis can get out of the state for us, if we can double that, that's kind of the hope, is that we can take the 4 million and give it to Lewis. He goes to the casino in Santa Fe, and or wherever he goes to do whatever he does.
Yeah.
Because the more cash that we can show that we're putting into it,
The more they'll match us. We've already had that issue with the water tower.
Yes.
The tanks, so.
And the same with the rates.
Yeah.
If our rates aren't high enough.
Right.
To meet the median average in the state, and we're still below the median average with this rate study.
I can believe that.
But we're in the ballpark. We're not going to get slapped around as hard from the state.
How do these rates compare to the other market around us? Could you do any checking on that?
I think Debbie might have ran them like 8 months ago.
I don't know. I mean, versus what's Hobbs. Everybody wants to compare us to Hobbs. I hate doing that. I hate it, but.
Apples and oranges.
Debbie might have.
Some of these other communities, I mean, they got so many other revenue streams that we don't have, but.
I think that we were about comparable or a little higher. We're not monumentally higher, but we're right within ballpark, if I remember right.
Clovis, Portales.
Portales, Clovis is probably.
How do we compare to Albuquerque?
No, don't go there.
And that was one of the things that I talked about.
Cheaper than, that's what I want to make the point.
When we went into this, because everybody, how do we compare with well, you can't.
No.
Especially in water and wastewater, you're comparing apples and oranges.
Exactly.
Is it a surface water system? Is it a groundwater system? What do they have to do to process?
Variables.
Yeah. And you can't compare one system to another.
No.
It just doesn't work.
No.
River water is cheaper than pumping it out of the ground.
Not necessarily. Because
you treat it.
You know how much treatment that has to go through? Because how many people have peed in it upstream? And you have to clean that.
No,
fish, you have fish.
So you got to clean it up before you dirty it up and have to clean it up again.
Yeah. How many treatment plants has that been through going down the river? That was always our joke up in South Dakota is, by the time when the east side of the state gets their water out of the Missouri, it's been through Montana, it's been through North Dakota. It's been used a lot.
Okay.
So
I do got one question.
Sure.
The day after election, they got a call from an elderly gentleman. He wants to know why they went to the 90 instead of 300 in the back.
Well, it depends on.
The reason he's elderly, he goes, I got to run it out there and then I got to pull it back out. He also wanted to know what is the difference stopping 12 times and stopping 3 times with the big container?
So ease of access. So the solid waste, well, going back to the elderly individual, we actually have an unofficial system where we can actually put them on a schedule, and with Rubicon now, what we could do is when the driver gets nearby, with Rubicon will put a geo fence around the house. It actually notifies the driver on their tablet, tell them, hey, you need to get down. We'll actually go to the door, pick up the container, bring it down, service it, and we'll put it back for him or her. We have that. Sometimes the alleys, what the supervisors do, they'll go in there, they'll come to me, they'll assess it. If it's too close, we're taking out fences, we're hitting poles. If it's a safety issue, if it's too much encroachment in the alley, we get out of those alleys. Or if it's even a backup alley, we get out of there. It's for a safety issue. You imagine the size of that truck trying to squeeze through those alleys. They're not designed for us now. So it's quicker, faster for us to be on asphalt and concrete versus an alley. That's one of the reasons we do that. But we do have a specialized service. If I can get that information on an individual, we can put them on Rubicon and we'll do personalized service. We'll get down and we'll pull that container for them.
Okay, and then the other question was, he feels like his street looks like a garbage dump all the time because he's got those trash cans out there and he just
Well,
and I understand what you're just saying.
Part of the ordinance is you put it out and you bring it back in within 24 hours within a reasonable amount of time. We do have individuals, we'll work with code enforcement, they'll leave it out there 7 days a week. You don't want to do that. Bring it back in, but we can have that conversation with code enforcement. There is an ordinance we're introducing in January, addresses all that.
We started doing this before his tenure, the tenure these days. It was all risk management, all efficiency, all cost. It was costing us too much with all the guys hitting everything in the alley and that. It was all monetary and how can it help the city reduce costs and reduce insurance? That's how it all started. Thank you.
Smith Rita, you've already had your 2 minutes.
Administrative fees.
Well, I'll be really quick then. I hear all this about
$700,000.
about the rate increase and about the commercial and about the machines. I don't hear anything about the employees. Now, you know that they are forced to work overtime. It's called forced work overtime on Saturday. You're all getting off on the 26th of December, not the trash people. They are working. Can we do something for the employees? Last session, I heard something about, well, we hired 11, 5 of them left. Why did those 5 leave? I mean, we have to think of our best asset is the employees, not the trucks, not the $500,000 trucks that are not in the barn, that are outside and they have to be serviced every now and then. What about the employees? Does anybody care about the employees? Just asking.
They're not the only ones, that some of them have to be on duty.
I know, you get the.
Does, police, fire.
Right.
Ambulance service, when and if we ever get one put together.
And I understand that, but some of the employees that were hired were never told that they had to do forced overtime on Saturday. They never get a holiday. Yes, they get $2 or $3, extra to work a holiday. And those are the people that are on the streets. I don't see anybody in the buildings like Debbie or Abraham or Jackie. I don't see them in the buildings working. They get the holidays. I get phone calls, believe it or not, from the people that said, I don't get a holiday. I didn't get Thanksgiving off. And then I had to work Saturday. I get Christmas off, but I don't get the day after Christmas, where the other people do. I understand that trash is a big problem. But unless we treat the employees with the dignity and give them some, family time, I think you're going to lose more employees that you're going to get. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one of the big things that changed here very recently was we went back to the employees get paid for the holiday and then get paid time and a half for working the holiday.
Yeah.
That was a big change. When it went, it was what, 3 years ago, it went the other way. And it was bad.
That was tough.
And now that's back. The employees, they appreciated that, because then they're getting compensated for having to work those holidays.
As they should be.
You're really getting 2.5
And I
times.
agree.
They're 2.5 times.
But what if they don't want to work? If they don't get it, there is absolutely nothing for the employee. You either work or you get written up. I'm just saying that this is what they are calling and telling me. We would much rather not work on the day after Thanksgiving, but we're forced to.
Question to you.
Yes.
What's your solution?
Hire more employees.
Well, we're trying to hire more employees.
I know, but there's a reason why you're not hiring employees out there.
Well, I don't want to get into.
I don't want to get into it either, and I've got to go because it's kind of.
4:30, you said you were going to be out of here at 4:30.
I'm trying my best.
5:30.
Mr. Matthews.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to speak you long here, but Ms. Davies has a question.
Oh, she's got to leave.
5 o'clock. So when you move to your next item, could we move up to number 8 so she could do her presentation?
She's taking cuts.
You see that? I see how it
With
is.
your permission, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, ARPA's important. If that's all right with you.
I'm fine. I don't want,
Okay.
Wow.
you're going to go pick up Miss Davies'
I'm
grandchild.
not going to. ARPA funds, this is,
Graham will go pick him up. He's finished.
Give me the address. I'll send a gravel truck.
Yeah. See if they can pick him up.
Only if he can drive.
You can honk the horn.
this is something we need to address. Thank you.
I'll give, do you want to pass one back?
Sure.
And mine, I don't know where he went.
Gotta teach him, you don't leave till he's over.
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
And mine's not long. I just wanted to remind everyone that we have the American Rescue money that is still available. We took $10 million as lost revenue. We've used 3.1 million of that, so we have 6.5 million in lost revenue that is still sitting in the ARPA fund. The other 1.7 million is qualified categories. So it has to be used for specific things that qualify under the ARPA rules. We've spent 1.2 million or 1.1 million of that. We have 622,692.45 left. We have to have that obligated to some project before December of next year.
December of 24.
Yeah.
That's the 622.
Pardon me?
That's the 622,000.
22,000.
It's got to be by 12/24.
We've got to have it allocated for a project, and then we have to have it actually expended and be done by December of 26.
So a better plan would be to move that timeline back to October so we can get it figured out, and then we won't be at the last minute trying to make some.
Well, yeah, and we're having to report, we being Tammy's so lucky she gets to report on this quarterly. And if we could get it out there and it tied to a project, it's going to make her reporting a little bit easier.
List of approved projects.
Well, this is on October 10th of 23, the department, the U.S. Treasury Department released an interim rule, and they have allowed for 3 new expenditure categories. And if you look at this down in the bottom area down here, the emergency relief from natural disasters, the Title I projects, and the surface transportation infrastructure are the 3 new categories that they added. The others are still the same. It's got to benefit something. It's got to do social distancing. So one of the projects that we did was the air filters at the library to clean the air with viruses and stuff. That's a qualified category. The other money that we used was for the utility assistance. And those are the only qualified categories that we've used so far. Just wanted to give you this. You all can think about departments and where we could use another $622,000.
Pay off my bad debt. Again.
No, didn't you tell me you were going to pay me back?
I was thinking about it.
It's time to start thinking about this.
Well, I think that's something that city manager should come forward with that plan and idea.
Okay. He's not here. He keeps.
Well, and I've given
like
him a copy.
On the qualified categories, that's something that should be.
He comes in and he goes out.
Yeah.
And he comes back in, he goes back out.
So I understand you got a business, but Mr. Matthews is here, so.
I think he comes in to see if we're still here.
Message is received, feel quite confident it will be delivered.
Yeah. So the rest of the money though, the 6.8 million, I thought we consumed some of that in this year's budget.
There's not been any movement yet. This is as of 6:30.
But you garnered a couple million of that, did you not, for the current year budget?
Yes, to cover some debt with some holes we have. We've not moved it yet and I won't move it because we've already taken that as lost revenue.
Right.
So we don't have to justify.
There's no reporting anymore on that.
Right.
We're done.
But
we do have
I want to move it if these departments can pull their numbers out.
That's right.
And I don't want to give it to them. So we've not done any.
Thank you very much, because you know I've been one who stands tall on this ARPA lost revenue money. It is something meaningful to this community.
I do. Right now, it is still sitting in the ARPA fund. I believe when we get the final audit for 23, they're going to make me move that lost revenue into general fund. But I can still
You'll
keep
move
it.
back.
I can still set it aside.
Okay.
But once that's gone, then there's nothing left.
No.
I have nothing left anywhere else.
How much
period.
was left in that?
In that, which one, Mike?
622.
622?
Yeah, this right here.
Oh, that right there. I just get good instructions, so I.
You'll give him an instruction?
They won't give him a bad number.
Here's your homework assignment, Mr. Cole, while you were out gallivanting around the halls.
Yeah.
So much.
I felt that you didn't do anything but at 3 o'clock in the morning, so we need something for you to do besides sleep.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Janie. All right, so now, back to you, buddy. So let's talk about.
Thank you, James. Okay, Mr. Chair, Counselor, here for discussion and review of the award of the VFD variable frequency drive installation, well motor casing, and new building and upgrades at RW4, which is well 4 at the Air Center, Alpha Southwest, in the amount of $592,255.42. The procurement shall be through utilizing City of Las Vegas, New Mexico maintenance contract, which was issued under an RFP process. If you guys don't know what an VFD is, it's a variable frequency drive. It ramps up and down the well motors, which saves tons of shock to our infrastructure. The old motors right now, they just get hammered with electricity. When they kick on, they jolt. And they hammer down all the power, all 100%, and they ramp up real hard, and it does create main breaks and leaks and stuff like that. These variable frequency drives, they slowly ramp up. They start real slow. I'm talking real slow until it gets to full speed, and it turns on, and then whenever it shuts down, it does the same thing. It slows from full speed back down real slow till it shuts off. So it saves tons of damage to our infrastructure. On the packet, on these things, I have 2 estimates attached. The first estimate is $592,255.42, which I'm requesting to go with that one. That is with the new building. The estimate using the old building, it actually came in at $537,735.42. which is only a difference of $54,520 for a new building. I've seen the numbers, and we actually did 2 brand new buildings out there at Dare Center. We did well 1 and well 3 for about $550,000. So I told him, well, what would it cost me for a new building? So I requested a new estimate. And that's with us doing the demolition of the old well house in-house. Do that ourselves, which we can handle. And they'll come in with the new building. So that's why I'm recommending we go with the new building instead of fixing up. And you can see the picture of the old building right there. And then the other metal buildings, what they would replace it with. And then the pictures right there, that's what it looks like with the new well motor and everything. Change it, go back right there. And that's the way they put all new well casing, shaft, motor, everything's brand new. And with that, I stand for any questions, because I know this is just kind of.
I saw this already at infrastructure, and as long as it's a budget, it's just.
So
it's in the
we do
budget.
have budgeted $525,000. So there is an overage, but I do have budget authority over an additional $500,000 that was put into our budget for equipment that wasn't supposed to have been. But we're being very careful how we're spending it, but that's why I'm transparent on, we did move some for that emergency water line repair, the $116,000
Right.
up there on Country Club and Coronado. And that's the only money we moved out of that account, and this would be a second movement of that same funding.
Yeah.
And anytime we do anything with that money, because we're not doing anything, we're not spending it just because we got it, it will come before you guys before we do any kind of movement.
For the authorization for the transfer.
Yes, but we do have the money available there, do have budget authority for that.
I do have one other question. So this is out at the airport, and this is the airport's water rights that we're pumping this water from?
Yes.
Why in the hell don't we get the airport to pay for this?
Been a
It's
topic
their
of
water.
discussion.
We're buying it from them.
That and all the repairs out there and the 2 new tanks.
I mean,
It all should be the airport.
that's what I'm thinking.
We got the water tower loans, we did 2 other VFDs for $1 million. We've done, I mean, that's.
You know, who's broke is the water department.
That's the problem.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's their water. We buy the water from them. They need to deliver it to us.
So with the completion of this project, what percentage of the wells do we have set up like this?
This is, I believe, number 10, so we'll be halfway through.
Okay, so this helps with the water hammer. And so hopefully we'll cut down on the need for quite as many repairs. But at 50%, that's probably not enough. So in my estimation, so what percentage of these wells do we need to get done before we can actually start really banking on relief on the leaking pipes?
We're actually already gaining ground because what we're doing is we prioritized everything that was centered in the center of Roblo first, and now we're moving out towards the air center. So everything else is moving out that way. So we're kind of transitioning out towards Kerr Field. And so we're getting further away from our infrastructure. All the in-town wells have been completed with VFDs.
So it's the Kerr Field, the biggest hump that you have left to do?
So we have Kerr Field and we have a few more wells on the airport and then 2 more further out.
The payback on these VFDs is typically 3 years on when it comes on, you get that demand charge. Well, when it ramps up slow, you don't have to pay that demand charge.
That's huge.
Right.
And it's a whole bunch of money.
Because you pay the electric company for that demand charge, whether you use it or not.
Yep.
It's on there
And
every
with the pump, it goes high and then it scales back.
Right.
But with the VFD, it starts slow and ramps up.
Right.
So you never get that high demand charge.
Right.
You don't get that hit.
Yep.
So that's where you pay for these VFDs.
Yep.
There's a lot of tons on electrical charges. So the next 2 are on there. Airfield one by Dean Baldwin, that's the one we're proposing now. And the next one's like in the middle of the airport on the west side, and everything else is on the back side of the fence moving out.
So you've got the bulk of the system.
We got the bulk of the system centered in town, taken care of.
That's a big help. Big help.
If we blow up lines out at the air center, they should have to fix them. Because they're theirs.
I'll give you
You're gonna get coal for Christmas, buddy.
That's okay. It's worth money right now.
I didn't say how much coal you're
Oh,
gonna get. Pebble sized.
Not enough to heat anything.
Enough that he can go around showing everybody, look what Councilor Corn gave me.
At least I got some.
All right. We need to get this done and continue this process, because I think between not paying quite the electric bill and the wear and tear on our system, it pays off.
Will that come before next council meeting?
You don't have to, and because it just not, as a non-action, I'll bring it before infrastructure again, probably, if y'all want to see it again.
Did infrastructure already approved it, did they not?
No, they just moved it to finance.
It says it on the abstract, but you guys did not approve.
I understand somebody had something to do with that.
And on this one, it's, and it's not an action item on this one, so I'm gonna have to bring it before.
We'll see you in January.
So we'll bring it again.
It should be a very short meeting, hopefully. Okay, we're gonna talk about the country club reservoirs.
Mr. Chairman, this item and the next item are both water test board loans. The reservoirs is the water improvement loan, the Hobson is the drainage loan, but the process is the same. And for the benefit of the new counselor, when engineering is giving, there's an improvement requested, the wells, the reservoirs to be rehab, the drainage addressed at Hobson. Engineering might try to figure out the cost, and the total cost of an improvement is you gotta design it, you gotta bid it out, and sometimes it's construction management and testing. So when you're asking for a loan, a grant, whatever else, that's the total cost of the improvement. And then, so for a water trust board loan, when we do the application, we bring it to council. Council has a resolution, to support us asking for the money. And then when we get an offer like we did in July we brought it back to the council. Here's the offer, do you want to proceed? Council said yes, we submit more paperwork, more financial stuff. And then the third time is what I said in July, the council will see it one more time. And then they make a decision, we sign on the loan or we do not sign on the loan. And that's for the loan process. Usually when a grant, same thing. You figure out the total cost of design, construction inspection. You ask for a grant. When you get a grant, which is usually has some match or it's free, 100% state money or federal money, you still got to bring it to council and council approves the agreement. And then we get the agreement and we get the money and start working. Or sometimes we have to spend the money first and get reimbursed.
That's right.
There's two different ways to happen.
And so you're out your money till the project gets completed, and then you're also waiting for reimbursement. Some are better than others about getting that reimbursement. But a couple of questions. So this $8 million deal, where did you get those? Tell me how you arrived at these numbers.
We actually started doing this a few years ago, and through Tank Energy Consultants, who's an industry on this, we've been looking at those prices as they go progressively. When they first started, they were about $1.5 million and $2 million, and then the way the inflation is, and that's where we're at. Let me give you an example of what happened in Rio Rancho. Last month, Rio Rancho went out to bid for their headwork improvements for the wastewater plant, 4.5 million gallon plant. Engineer's estimate was $7.5 million. 2 bids were received. $21 million each. So Rio Rancho said, we don't have the money, we don't know how we're gonna get the money. So they're sitting in the water, can't do anything.
Well, this is, in my opinion, the biggest thing infrastructure needs and we need to do for our water department. I've got 2 concerns. One is that $8 million just a number on a piece of paper, or is there some real?
No, there's historic analysis that we've been doing. And I understand your concern because inflation, you see that with my bids on the trails. My trails, we rebid it twice and we didn't gain anything significantly. We're still over budget. And my answer to you, as it was in July, is still the same. If we get the $8 million loan and it comes in, we can only do one tank. I would then go back to Water Trust Board and say, hey, inflation, we want to do the loan, but we're only going to do one tank.
Okay, well.
And that's how it proceeds.
So because this is upside down, in my opinion, grant versus loan, because they're going to grant less than they're going to loan us.
Right.
What was their reason for coming up with this scenario?
I don't know the reason. Typically, when it's a water or something that has an enterprise to it, that's how they look at it. While you look at the drainage, is completely different. The Hobson, it's $9 million. It's a $1 million that we got to match, and the $8 million is the cream. So, and again, because there's no enterprise associated with the drainage.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
But they're both design, construction, and construction management for the total amount of money that we're spending.
Well, did our current water rate figure into this, you think?
I couldn't answer that because
It shows it in the,
It shows the additional debt in there.
well, it shows in the documents and stuff, that's part of what they base their analysis on, is where we fit in the rates, in the state.
the deadline for the financial that was sent in was in September 2022, I believe. No, hold it. May 2023 was when we had to submit that. So I didn't deal with that. I just deal with the technical part.
So they do analyze the rates, see if we're charging sufficient amount for our water. And if we're not charging enough, they look at that because we should be charging more, so they'll give us less.
Reduce your rate.
Well, is it your
That's what
opinion,
happened here, if I recall, in the previous discussion.
is it your opinion if we get this new rate increase, would it change their thinking here?
I think we at least ought to show it to them.
Yep. It wouldn't hurt to resubmit and request more if we can show them a new water rate, if we could get it passed. It wouldn't hurt.
Never hurts to ask, all they can do is say no.
Well, I still haven't identified a source, pay back that $4.4 million.
It's in here.
It's in the.
It's in his water.
It's in the rate study.
Yeah, it's not there now,
Right.
but it's coming into the rates.
Yeah,
It is debt payment.
If it passes.
Now we're getting to the horse in front of the carriage kind of deal. Yes, Mayor?
In any event, if we could only do one tank, you need to build a rate study big enough to make, the higher you build your rates, the more they're gonna loan us.
Right.
So, all I'm saying is that I know that's a real draconian way to look at things, but you look at what we have to fix, and we need to be draconian. I mean, some of that stuff probably pre-dinosaur.
Well, I'm curious about two things. One, in my opinion, my estimation, we don't have any choice on this rate study. All of them.
I know.
Water, wastewater, and sanitation, solid waste. So we're gonna have to do that. The second thing is, I'm not real comfortable with, well, we got $8 million, we'll see what the bids come in. I think we ought to get some fresh bids.
Yes. After speaking to you, I did submit, I got a purchase order with Tank Industries to give us a new engineer's estimate. So I submitted that yesterday. So we'll have some fresh numbers. I sent them the PO. So they are working on getting us a new engineer's estimate. They're going to start working up all the proposals, all the estimates for.
And we do have the advantage that the last time we did a rehab with the Kerr Reservoir, there are, I'm gonna say, regional contractors. You have Riley and Farmington, and then you have another one in El Paso that are fairly regional with this type of work.
Right.
So I think that's gonna help us. They are hungry.
Well, I mean, who knows what this economy that affects everything we do.
Yeah, and this work is not that complicated. They're just big things.
They're just big things.
Well, yeah, you got to just go in there and put whatever sealant you're on and cross your fingers that it plugged all the holes. I was out there the other day, you got some big leaks that you can't see from the road.
Well, you can't see from the road, and I'm sure you explained to you all the stuff that we injected and all that kind of stuff.
Scuba divers trying to go in and trying to seal it and it didn't work.
Well, we used to just throw cement in our steel tanks at the ranch and come back in a day or two. Hopefully it was slowed down. Can't do that with.
Good for the cattle.
And the thing is, the system that we're using now, the pipe will last, the steel will last longer than the concrete. I'm gonna use the lift station at the wastewater plant as an example. In 2000, we did our first epoxy coating of a wastewater system. When we did that one, we said, okay, we're gonna epoxy coat it, in a couple of years, we'll fix it. Well, we've already changed out pump settings and headworks and everything else. Epoxy system's still there.
Well,
As long as it's underwater, it's the environment that makes it last better.
Yeah, well, and obviously those tanks, at least the lower part, depending on the demand and the availability of replacement water from the well fields, they stay up here.
They do that, and then they have they got the SCADA system, everything else. Yeah, there's a demand during the day, but it goes back up.
Yeah. Okay.
So I will bring that new estimate to you as soon as we get it, but it's gonna take
Again,
a couple
from my
months.
point of view, both items, engineering brought it to you. This is the third thing you guys vote yea or nay, and then we keep on going.
Well, regardless, these are non-action items today.
Correct.
So talk to us about your flood control. Got the flood commissioner here, so
On the,
don't be lying too much.
on the Bratcher, the Bratcher, off the road. Okay, off the road is $9.6 million. It's gonna be $1 million just to do the design. So the first year would be a design, the second year would be construction.
So where is,
The limits of the project are from the west perimeter road of the airport. And that's called, I think that's called Nevada. And it lines up with all the other streets, and then,
YO on the other side?
well, no, 285 on the other side.
All the way out the
Yeah,
highway.
right.
And where's the proposed location for this catch basin?
The proposed basins that are on the oil plan is, if you can picture, south of Hobson Road, west of the railroad tracks. Where the road ends and it's all dirt and mud anyway when it rains.
Yeah.
That would be one of those. Now, the study could tell us that there's others to be needed. One that comes to my mind that's unofficial would be that old pit right there, 285 and
Well,
and Hobson.
that was part of the discharge when the Air Force Base was here. That was the discharge side of their wastewater.
So,
After they watered the golf course.
But the one that the city already owns is that right there. It's Hobson Road and the railroad tracks that would be in the southwest quadrant.
Okay. That's just a big hole to catch water? Is that just it's just a big hole to catch
Yeah,
water?
it'd be a detention pond. And that's what the study from 2000 did. So that's what I mean. The first year is gonna be a design. Consultant will take the 2000 study and see if it still holds merit, which I think it will, because there's really no development over there. So the drainage area kind of stuff, and then the second year, we can bid out and build whatever the consultant came up with.
You still gotta get some holes underneath 285.
Well, the thing is, with 285 is like Bratcher. 285 is already set. You cannot overload what's already there. You just have to feed it at the capacity that it can handle.
Another little issue, not on this issue, but a number of years ago, while I was on the county commission, there was a lot of discussion about straightening up that intersection between 285 and Hobson.
They're doing that. They had a pre-construction conference already.
Okay, so it's on track?
That's on track at DOT.
And we
We
already
had
got
it
all
about 3 weeks ago, I believe.
Okay, and we bought the property that we had to buy for that?
The DOT bought the property they had to buy.
Okay, well, I know the county bought some on
Yeah.
the other side.
That's a DOT project. The reason we got courtesy notice is because we're right there. YO is the city limit.
Okay. All right. I'm done. Let's
Mayor,
go.
any more questions?
No, I just, 285 was just like a dam.
And most highways are, and with for almost any drainage, whatever the DOT or even the railroad has, all we can do is make sure that whatever drains we send that direction, that we do not overload whatever pipe, bridge, culvert they have there, because you don't want to impact people downstream.
Controlled release.
Controlled release, they're the control. That, the final culprit at the very end is the control. Whether it's the 224, the Brasher, or it's that little boxes over there, at Southeast Main and.
Well, I can already show you how much erosion has happened in South Springs. I mean, it's bad from what's already coming across 285 in Brasher. Wherever it's coming from, it's bad. It took a whole bunch out. So let me know when you want to see it.
Yeah, engineering, we just have to add that one, we get the good range and see, follow where it's all coming from.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to public comment. Anybody have anything they wish to discuss? Going once? Going twice?
Hi, Vicky.
Yeah, bye, Mama.
We're done. We're adjourned. Thank you all.